Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Brad Ellis.
Hi.
Ben Moore.
Bow wow.
The winner of the 2021 Best Podcast Co-Moderator Award, Daniel Bloodworth.
Thank you.
Making it all happen in the control room, Isla Hink.
Hi.
Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest headlines in the world of video games. But before we do that, we must answer for all the mistakes we made in last week's podcast. A short list. Isla, begin corrections music, please.
Boop.
Sonic Mania's director was Christian Whitehead, not Jason. He is a taxman in the Sonic community.
We said Jason Whitehead?
That was Damiani said Jason Whitehead. I'm
Damn.
curious if that was from a band or something. Lots of love for
like
NFTs from entrepreneurs and artists.
You're wrong.
Obviously, the entrepreneurs are out there, but I heard some people were like, I'm excited to make my work in NFTs.
Debate.
In Japanese,
That's not a correction.
the corrections, clarifications. These are all coming from the comments, and so there was lots of people.
Hey, I'm making a lot of money off of this.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute now.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, I like destroying the planet and making money.
In Japanese, SMT is often abbreviated to Mega 10.
Yeah.
So how does Mega 10.5 sound? Mega
Yeah.
10.5.
That's not a correction either.
But it was a suggestion, it was like we were talking about.
I
saying
remember
that
someone
we were like,
saying
I don't know if we were calling
Megaton
No.
last
But
time.
before Shin Megami Tensei, there were games called Megami Tensei.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ben said this last
yes.
week.
Which
Yes.
somebody said specifically Mega 10 is the abbreviation, just the words Mega 10, that could be an American title
Okay.
for Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
That's a slang that we could use. That could be the English title of the franchise to help it reach a broader audience.
Well, people just say SMT.
I like Mega 10. Or no.
I would buy an SMT, but not a Megaton.
Yeah, Mega 10 makes me think of Ben 10.
Yeah.
Too confusing.
And corrections music, please.
Boop.
Hollywood is falling apart. Games are doing well, but as we know, they're going to leave Hollywood in the dust because one by one, actors are dropping out of films right and left, and we can't find other actors to replace them because they all have issues too. We can only find video game characters. We need to fill them in for starring role or opening bit. From Johnny Can't Dance, sadly, Anthony Hopkins had an allergic reaction to fava beans on the set of Silence of the Lambs.
Jones, you know what's so funny?
Has been rushed to the hospital.
I legit did not realize that you were saying Hollywood was falling apart as like a bit into
Right.
the opening segment. I believed you were just reporting news, and I was like, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right.
We'll get there.
Absolutely.
I mean, Activision's falling apart. That's the closest thing I can bring to it, or at least one person's career at Activision. Unfortunately, the movie's on a strict deadline. Needs to go ahead. We have 3 possible video game characters we can replace this Oscar-winning classic role. Skelly from Hades,
Okay.
Okay.
Tom Nook, who gets brought up a lot, and Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5.
Sorry, what is the role they're fulfilling again?
They are fulfilling Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs,
Definitely not Skelly.
and potentially later films.
I don't know.
works.
I'm leaning into Skelly as the best option here.
I think Trevor would be pretty
I don't
cool.
think Skelly has the. I don't know. He's just the lovable punching bag, right? Like that's Skelly.
I
If I'm
think
mistaken.
Trevor, I could believe it. I
Yo,
could believe
yeah,
that man would
absolutely.
eat someone.
Sure.
In fact, I would argue that Trevor has, or I believe that Trevor has already eaten.
Yeah,
someone.
he's probably tasted something.
Yeah.
probably
Totally.
dabbled.
Totally, Trevor. Yeah.
From Dustin McNabb, you hate to see it. Harrison Ford is too busy with Star Wars, and he's not going to worry about Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's out. He's like, I just did Empire. We got Return coming up.
Okay.
Backing out of the role of Indiana Jones, we need to fill this with Joel from The Last of
Isn't
Us.
that actually happening though?
Professor, sadly, no, he's still on. They're making number
but
5.
I mean like the
He keeps
the
injuring
leaked
himself.
script for the new indie is like
Professor Oak from Pokemon. So we have Joel from The Last of Us, Professor Oak from Pokemon, or Kratos from God of War. That'd be a short movie. Kratos versus the Nazis.
What was the second one?
Professor
Professor
Oak
Oak.
from
I can't,
Pokemon.
I can't buy it. He's too gentle.
Yeah,
I think that's why I want it. It's
Yeah,
so
I think,
funny.
Professor Oak's
He'd
one
just
I'm
die
into.
like in the first scene.
Yeah, I would watch that.
But isn't it part of like Professor Oak's like thing that he doesn't go anywhere? They're like he's not actually going on adventures.
he
He's
goes over
sending
to-
people to other.
He goes over to Ash's mom's house.
He died.
She's away.
Who was the first one?
Joel.
Joel.
Joel, I could buy. I could see him strangling someone to death.
I think Joel would be a nastier
Thrown out
Indiana
the
Jones,
movie.
which
Yeah.
would be
a little,
interesting.
little harder edged.
Okay. He's open, I believe. I don't think we've cast Joel as anything. So, Trevor and Joel, what a pair. We have the nominations for the Game Awards 2021. Shout out to Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank, tied for the most, which was 6.
You know what's crazy? Seeing
crazy.
the conversation around this year's Game Awards, like social media, very divisive place. Everyone unanimously agreed on every single nomination.
Stoked, I know.
Everyone was
This
so
was
happy.
this was
It
a
felt
positive
like
week.
the world was coming together.
GTA Trilogy Remastered launched really well. Game Awards nominations, barely contested.
Yeah.
It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2. Definitely It Takes Two, a game I will fight for. Tied for the second most with 5 nominations. So those are your 4 games that are kicking a lot of ass at the Game Awards. Obviously, their cutoff is in the middle of like November or whatever for like the
Tomorrow, yeah.
For when games
The 19th.
can come out. And our GOTYs, for specifically those nominations, are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Go Resident Evil. I don't think you're going to win, but go Resident Evil. Xbox/Bethesda is the most nominated publisher with 20 nominations, followed by Sony with 11. I think Xbox and Bethesda are going to sit there for a while, right? That's a lot. It's a good odds, I think, for that team
Xbox
with all
has
those
been
acquisitions.
bringing the heat lately. I appreciate it.
Nominated for Best Role-Playing Game, Cyberpunk 2077.
That's the craziest one.
It is
How many-
nonsensical.
How many people had to write that in the ballots for that to show up? Yeah.
Right. And why?
Yeah. Well, fair reminder, we are obligated to not share anything that we have voted for or nominated.
Right.
We cannot do that. Just so you know. That keeps everything safe, keeps publishers from putting pressure on people or whatever.
Can we
Yeah.
say what we didn't vote for?
When I say this, I sound like a Cyberpunk hater, and I'm not. There's a lot of things about Cyberpunk I really like, but considering the trajectory of that game, I just don't. It doesn't make sense that it's taking up a slot from something else this year.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's a surprise too because, of all the headlines, of all the news, of everything that's happened with that game, just say like, give it a nomination now.
They
We think
nailed it.
We think it's been patched up well enough. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, okay.
When I think of examples that I want to set for other people to follow, most certainly, Cyberpunk 27 is. But I can see the like, but actually kind of crowd. I can see a lot of people being like, "Oh, I know what you're gonna say," but I really actually had a wonderful time with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have. Yeah.
But that was surprising. Also nominated for score and music, which okay.
You know what else was nominated for score and
that's-
music? And this is like saving
Got
the
the
Game
list
Awards.
right here, baby,
there's
yeah.
2 things saving the Game Awards nominees for me because I just did not expect them. I can't believe Nier Replicant is on there.
Yeah.
It absolutely deserves to win.
Nier Automata got lots of recognition as well too. I remember, didn't they play a song at the awards?
Yes,
And-
but this almost feels like retroactively deserved praise because the original Nier has a impeccable soundtrack and never got like this sort of
Right.
mainstream recognition. And so to see it here it is like it's just like a weird, unexpected victory.
Yeah, I think the soundtrack is the one place where I think Cyberpunk should show up. I think it's there is a lot happening there. There's a lot of work put into that. From just like the mix of score and like them hiring these bands to like pretend to be other bands and write songs
Yes.
that fit into the universe.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
the radio and just like there and some of those original songs, when we did our awards last year and I was listening to them, I was like, yo, this is really, really good. Stuff that I hadn't heard yet in the game, and it was just like going through the soundtrack. I was like, oh, yeah, I wasn't expecting to be caught up in this like this.
yeah.
I don't disagree with you, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy is on there as well.
Guardians, Artful Escape, and Deathloop.
And Guardians and Cyberpunk stand out to me because licensed music is also such a huge part of the game that it when you're like trying to compare these things in your brain, it just makes it a little strange for me.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Guardians is in a weird spot because the licensed music is very up in front.
It's up in front in a way where it's like I feel like it is at the forefront in a way it's like hard to separate. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there is a good score there. There is, again, an original band that they sort of put together for some extra tracks.
Yeah, Star-Lord, right?
But the Star-Lord band, something like that. But yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where like the music selection, the licensed music just dominates so much of like what people perceive. It's almost like the other stuff is there, but that's not what they remember. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I think all of those soundtracks are strong, but there are things that, like we were talking about, World Ends With You and Guilty Gear Strive, not even making a dent on this list.
It's
and
disappointing.
Guilty Gear Strive not being there is... Sometimes you see where there's not a lot of interest in mainstream coverage, and I think that it shows that there's not a lot of interest in fighting games, or a lot of people maybe with experience with them.
What's odd is that the Game Awards has such a strong esports. I hesitate to say the word presence because I don't follow esports closely enough to know if these players care, these teams care. Really, hey, we got a Game Award. If they're just like, whatever, I got my trophy. I don't need a Game Award. Like, I know I won. So it's weird to see a lot of these really, outstanding competitive communities just not really get represented. Or it's like every year, and I am not involved in the fighting game community, and like that clearly stands out to me as like the one award that almost every year.
The fighting game community and the esports community, they're like kind of separate things.
Yes, and sometimes when they clash, it's not pretty.
Well, just the Game Awards in terms of representation, like how much they want you to know these people. They want these people to get the recognition that they deserve, and it seems odd that
Yeah. Well, I mean,
isn't represented in fighting games.
They have a whole different side of panelists and people that are recommending. Like we didn't, like our ballots have none of the esports categories.
Right. We're
so
not.
that's not.
There's the thing we didn't vote on.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate, though, I do have a lot of sympathy because we go through awards every year, and like this year for 2021, you're going to be able to poke plenty of holes in how we nominate things and the things that we aren't able to give time and attention to. Like it's the industry is just so massive that it is hard to have a clear consensus of what you should be giving attention to. And like what you can even be aware of, really, like there is only so much that you can do, even in a bigger production like the Game Awards.
Anything for the Game of the Year specifically that stands out? Should be there or should not be there?
Oh yeah,
I don't think
Deathloop
Deathloop should be on there.
Yeah, I don't think so at all.
That doesn't surprise me because reviews were all over the place.
I would put something else there.
There definitely been a lot of praise for Deathloop. Other people.
Of course. Just as we're big arcade fans.
Perfect scores. I saw people say GOTY when it launched,
and it's like I liked it, but nowhere near GOTY for me.
Yeah, I agree.
If you could knock out Deathloop or Resident Evil Village from that list, anything you would put in there for nomination?
I'd
Game
put
of the Year.
Returnal in there.
I also agree with Brad.
Best Direction, I believe.
Yeah,
it's nod, so that was a nice nod.
I think it's in there.
Yeah.
I would put No More Heroes 3 in there, but it's definitely a case where I have to think to myself, like, maybe I liked this more than just everyone else,
sure.
but it really
There's
stuck
always
out
that
to me.
element for the like, maybe I just like this though.
Right, yeah. I really liked No More Heroes 3 quite a bit. And Shin Megami Tensei 5, but like, no, it's never going to happen.
When did that come out?
It got Best RPG. Shin Megami Tensei 5?
Yeah.
Last week, officially.
I wonder if it just
Friday?
a lot of people haven't had a chance to play it.
That's-
Like I haven't even got a chance to play
That's a
it.
great point.
And
too,
I think
yeah.
that's a big thing is that they do try to remind people of games that came out at the end of last year and get those in there. But I think we have this other with the cutoff being mid-November, we have this other pocket of huge games that come out in the beginning of November that just don't have time for people to like really like conscientiously put on the ballot, right?
Right.
Like I wouldn't suggest that Call of Duty or Battlefield or Pokemon necessarily deserve any awards, but who's had any time with those games?
Of course,
to
those
nominate them?
huge games.
For me personally, and I'm glad that we do our Game of the Year awards later, because just in the last 2 weeks, Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, even in its beta form, have been absolutely two of the most impactful games for me this year. And so not including them in a roundup of 2021 is difficult. I understand why the Game Awards does it. Logistically, that thing is probably a nightmare and they need a lot of time. I get it. But it is tricky with how it lines up with game releases.
I was fishing for a Forza Horizon 5 plug from over there on the other side of the desk, but didn't really jump to your mind. Do you think
I just did it.
I think Forza Horizon 5 should win. Well, for Blood though, specifically. I think hands down that
What does
should
that mean?
I said before, I was like, "Hey, Bud, any games you think maybe that you're currently obsessed with right now that could maybe be?" I think it's a major omission. That would be my number one. I think Forza Horizon 5 is absolutely incredible. In fact, it's crazy for me to look at the sports racing genre, and like 3 of the 5 are dramatically impacted me this year. You know, Riders Republic, Hot Wheels Unleashed, and Forza Horizon 5. I played a ton of, not just for coverage, but like I'm hooked on these games. These are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and F1 was in there this year too, which I haven't played this year's F1, but last year's was really good. And so it's interesting that the sports racing this year is mostly racing.
Yeah.
A lot of times there'll just be one racing game in there.
A nice example of like sales and critical reception, kind of doing 2 different things. Obviously, the bigger sports franchises that make a ton of money not nominated. 12 Minutes nominated for Best Indie Game. Love that they lost the 1-2. Now it's the 12 in the word 12. Original trailer said 12. And now they're like, no.
There's no way.
They changed the branding. It's on their website, on the wiki.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
saw
funny.
a lot of what is 12 Minutes doing here?
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, I haven't played it,
Yeah.
so I don't want to speak too harshly on it, but I've definitely saw a lot of blowback from that game when people actually got their hands on it. So
There's
again,
a weird thing with like when the nominees have to go in, where I worry that a lot of the nominees for Game Awards are just, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I got to fill out this thing. I've heard of that one. Like,
right. Well, I
playing
would
it.
say that's what the fighting game category feels like.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy from
Yep.
our experience. It's so easy to just look at a category and go like, you know, best VRs. Like I care very passionately about that. But like, you know, I haven't played Lone Echo 2. I haven't played, there's a lot of
Right.
things I just have not had time for. So like, I don't feel cozy, you know, weighing in on stuff that we haven't. Artful Escape, sneaking in all over the place. Art direction, you know, up against some huge heavy hitters. Not something that I'm that familiar with. Was this something that we expected to come up in nominees or in other people's goaties as we?
I
get
don't know
near
that
the
I
end of the year?
expected it to come up, but it is definitely like, yeah, it's like a psychedelic, just feast for the senses. So I can see it resonating with some people for sure, especially on the visual front. There's just there's creature designs in there. Like I'm not sure what this is. Are those heads or limbs or bagpipes or what is that? What am I looking at here? So it's very cool from that perspective.
Man, SFD5 absolutely deserves a nod for best art direction, without question.
I saw somebody brought up. I saw Guardians brought up a couple times too.
Yeah,
Where, like,
I think
those
Guardians
planets,
has
like,
incredible.
there's just some really
I think
weird,
Guardians has incredible,
some really crazy,
art
unusual
direction.
stuff.
Yeah.
One of next year's most anticipated games, according to I believe this Easy Allies agrees, and the Game Awards doesn't even have a title yet. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Breath of the
Yeah.
And that's a tough one, man. Between the sequel to The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring,
Yeah, it's tough. It's real tough.
What is Brad Ellis's most anticipated out of those two?
At the moment, it's Elden Ring, just because it's closer, I guess, and I have more of an idea of the game, actually. Like, I've gotten to play it, and it's like, yay, this is good. I like this. And, of course, I'm going to like Breath of the Wild, but just having more
Yeah,
of it has gotten me more excited.
I'm hearing good things about that Elden Ring. Good impressions.
Yeah, I liked what Brad was saying about the dungeons, just like wandering in a cave.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird because I spent a lot of time over the weekend playing it, and I really liked it, but I was not feeling as glowing as
Sure.
other impressions.
I love announcements from other people about Souls projects because they're always just like, look at this bear. You know, it's just it's so simple and primal in terms of like action and role playing, and it's so visceral. Like, I made it to this island. Like, yeah, it's a good feeling. Another good feeling when a crazy Dragon Ball game gets announced.
Yes.
Tapping into a genre they never have before. If I just randomly like stopped you in a hallway, Ben, and said Dragon Ball, Dead by Daylight go? Like,
I would think you were
it was
trying to
possible?
sell me an NFT. That's what I would think.
And Dragon Ball's got to be heavy in the NFT department. Dragon Ball: The Breakers is a 7v1 game where survivors are sucked into a mysterious phenomenon called the temporal seam, and they must contend with the overwhelming power of the 8th player, the franchise's iconic rival, Raider. How iconic is this rival?
Raider?
How iconic?
No, Raider is the role.
Yeah,
There's
no,
several
that-
different
that-
characters
that
can
is-
Rival,
be
the
Yes,
iconic
characterized,
rival
yeah.
Raider. Sorry,
Okay.
whose task it is. So there can be multiple people because I've only seen one
Yeah,
character
multiple
used.
villains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they announced that it's going to be Cell, Boo, and Frieza.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then in the thing, they showed off different types of essentially survivors that you can play as.
Yeah, so Raider is essentially the same as the
Is the
killer.
killer.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. And then the survivors, that's where all the money's going to come in.
Yeah.
Because that's you create your character. They're going to have all these cosmetics and customization options and stuff for you to pick from. So that's really where that's going to go. I'm curious, how many killers they'll do. But there'll probably be all kinds of different permutations of survivors.
Is Dragon Ball like? Do they have their hands in like almost every genre in gaming, and so it just was inevitable by the time I got to something weird that we would talk about like this, or does this seem like
No, absolutely not.
a strange but exciting call? Like, is this not only
So it's
interesting
definitely a
for
surprise.
this game itself, but kind of maybe what for Dragon Ball has in store for this gen?
I mean, outside of a few exceptions, you hear a Dragon Ball game, it's some sort of fighting game every single time, and it's just rehashing oftentimes a lot of the plot that you've been familiar with for a very, very long time. And so while I think that I can't speak to the quality of this particular game, I think you watch that trailer and it's fun. It's unexpected. Like when I came into the studio after I saw that, I was so excited to share it with the other allies because it was a moment where I was like, I can't believe this, and the direction that they're taking and the way that they're focusing on Cell in this like incredible, like super horrific arc in the show. It was cool. It was exciting. It wasn't just same old, same old. You know, I love that.
So does this this represents like a more spooky part of Dragon Ball? Like
Yeah,
this is definitely
so-
something that fans are like, I see what you did there.
In the show, the imperfect Cell part and with the androids, it's very much like these really powerful beings going into a city and just murdering people, right? And it's this like sense of helplessness that I feel like you don't typically get, you know, in the very sometimes like fluffy shonen genre. Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool, different moment in the show.
Yeah, you feel outmatched, I guess, which is pretty rare in a Dragon Ball game because you're usually like Goku or Vegeta or something, and it's like go toe to toe every time. But now you're like
Right.
Bulma and Oolong. It's like these guys, they can't do shit against
Yeah.
these people.
But they show a guy with a rocket launcher at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Which you wouldn't do
It
anything
seems like
for
there's some
those villains,
vehicles
actually.
involved.
Right, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like if you directly compare it to Dead by Daylight, which everyone is going to do, you think about the relationship between survivors and killers in Dead by Daylight. You don't attack killers. At best, you throw a pallet on them, you flash a flashlight at them. But in general, your response is you hear the heartbeat, you run away. And so the idea of like attacking them is interesting. Also, turning into other objects is
Oh,
interesting because there's another game, I think it's called Prop Night, that is its hook, where it's Dead by Daylight, but you can turn into other props and disguise yourself around. So that's interesting too.
It reminds me of Evolve. Like you being this monster and then evolving over time and everyone kind of hunting it down unless there's other
Right.
objectives you could do.
Well, no, you're trying to escape.
Searching for the super time machine.
Yeah, but you're like actively fighting back against this thing.
And not only fighting back, but you had like this capsule core ship that you could like fly and get on. And so that relationship
There's like the time machine, it looked like.
is really, yeah, it did look like the time machine. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the escape.
Escape through time, yeah. Sure. It makes sense in Dragon Ball.
Launches in 2022. Closed beta test coming soon for PC.
Fun.
I recall, like, by the time Kakarot was really like ready for us to just, you know, bring to our marathon streams and, you know, do a full playthrough of and everything, we were like, it's okay. I think Mike and Mike streamed it, but could this maybe have a little more purchase within the Easy Allies? Could this be something that we might we might do a group stream of just
Yeah, I
because
could
it's
see we doing a group stream of it, especially because it's 8 players and there's 8 of us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect.
It's the kind of thing where it's really impossible to gauge how like its quality. Like it's definitely got me interested. I think the trailer like hit the right notes, but as somebody who is an avid Dead by Daylight player, it's really hard to go against something that I think has been not only been around for so long, but has evolved so much. And so, like, if you kind of have the knee-jerk reaction of like, it's Dead by Daylight, but not nearly as good, I think that's a hard thing working against it. And maybe it won't be that. I don't know, but I do think it has some stiff competition. It's like making a new MOBA, right? Where
of
it's
course,
like,
yeah.
it's like you can definitely do that, but you are competing against things that are so established and so good and have such rich communities that it's going to be an uphill struggle. Like Dead by Daylight is that in this genre for sure. I think people who are outside of the community don't actually know how big and popular Dead by Daylight is. It's a titan.
And this doesn't have Titan vibes, like I wonder if this is something that would be, have a great first week. Like you were saying, Brad, something that you were like, I'm not expecting to see these characters in this situation. I don't typically play as them. That amused me for a little while, but maybe not something I'll dig in. I don't know much I will be digging into a brand new fighting game announced this week starring Batman.
Yep.
It's not Injustice 3.
Kevin Conroy even.
Kevin Conroy as a Batman he never has been, which is always a funny thing to me when they're just like, we got Kevin Conroy to play this weird Batman. I'm like, okay.
And Arya Stark for no reason.
Maisie Williams coming back.
That is the
know she
weirdest
was in
one
this.
to me.
This is
Arya.
MultiVersus. This is a WB Smash Brothers, which is odd because the studio behind it did a video for 3.5 minutes where they talked about it and like never said WB, maybe once. Like it did not come up a lot.
Right.
It was just like, no, fun properties all in a game. And it's like, right, that's so clearly it's Bugs Bunny and Batman, and I see what you're doing here. So it'll be interesting to see. It's player first games that is developing this, free to play, co-op focus.
Yeah,
they will have other modes. They said it will be usable by people who just want to do single player, but they're like 2v2 specifically. Lots of abilities that can protect your partner. A lot of like grappling moves you can potentially do to like pull your partner from falling off a ledge or something. Before we get into the cast, for all the Smash Brothers the two of you have played specifically, and you as well, but has co-op ever been does that sound exciting to you? Do you see how they could shake up the formula?
Right.
But the focus, though, like a dev team coming out and saying like, this is really what
create a tunnel and have somebody else go through it. I think it's interesting. I don't know how well it'll actually play out. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is going to also kind of depend on the stage design.
Yeah, I feel like focusing on 2v2, like, there's going to be 1v1, but like most fighting games that live on is 1v1. That's like the bread and butter fighting games. Even Smash, it's like a party game, I guess is the fighting scene is 1v1.
Yeah, I think something that Smash has going for it, particularly Smash Ultimate, is Smash Ultimate is overwhelming, and I feel that way in like the best possible interpretation of that word, where it's like there are so many different things for me to dig into. There are so many stages. There are so many characters, and like with this, I had this like really visceral reaction to this announcement where I was like, I am so not into this. Why? And in spite of everything that I was talking about with Smash, it being so overwhelming, and it is taking characters that is a clashing of universes for sure, but there's like this cohesion to it. Like there's this sense that like for how ridiculous and how like everybody is here, Smash Brothers is, everything kind of fits. There's like kind of a consistency to the style and tone. And like you look at that character screen and you're like, yeah, that makes sense somehow. With MultiVerse, I was just like, these characters are here because they own them. Like it just didn't feel like I didn't get the sense of like, yeah, I really want these characters to fight, or this is cool, or this is fun. And like Smash Brothers, I still kind of get a little giddy where it's like, oh man, like Snake is versing Sonic is versing Pac-Man, but these are all video game legends. Here it's like, I guess Adventure Time is versing Game of Thrones because they can do it. Like, I just don't feel the same passion or enthusiasm.
I got really excited at Shaggy fighting Superman. That's very entertaining to me.
They did like a Dragon Ball power
that's
up
really
with Shaggy.
they followed up on the meme. They actually put it in there.
And Gandalf's going to be in this game?
I didn't know Gandalf was going to be in it.
Dude.
Wow. Huh.
Leaked. The earlier leaks was Gandalf was a character.
Gandalf.
Oh,
Fuck
man.
yes.
Nice. Yeah, I like when Bugs Bunny dies. That's all, folks. When he like flips out. Yeah, but it's like Ben. I wonder if like WB's not attached to this because Nickelodeon was very much like Nickelodeon to the point almost that I got like bummed that certain like properties weren't really. It was like one Rugrats character. You really start to think about what can you bring if that is your brand. I wonder if they're trying to stay away.
In there.
I can't. That'd be so odd.
I mean, I think we will get a Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Sure,
Just a very
bet we'll get
cartoony.
Scorpion.
They really, along with the free-to-play stuff, like they really talked about this as like, we're going to be doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like almost like pitching a 10-year plan or something at us, you know? and so.
Best in class online, quote unquote. Best
Rollback,
in class
netcode.
online.
Sure.
He didn't say rollback. He said
think
we're
they-
investing.
I think they did actually
Yeah,
say
I think they said
rollback. Yeah,
rollback.
I think they got out there and said
They
that.
might have done it later. In the video, he's just said, quote, we're investing a lot in netcode. Dedicated servers. I was waiting for the R word. Maybe they might have said it later in a press release.
And that's the thing that got to me because I feel like, you know, even though they did show some co-op moves and things like that, I just had this disconnect where they were talking about like all these features and how they're going to build it up and everything. And I'm just looking at like the core gameplay that's on the screen and like, I don't feel like this feels fun. And I don't know why exactly that it is, but it feels kind of soft.
There's a simplicity to the vibe, Doesn't feel complex, you know, like.
Well, it doesn't need to feel complex, but I think it needs to feel tight, and it feels just like a little floaty. And I know Smash Brothers has floatiness to it, but
Well, honestly, Blood, like, I think this would be a much more... I would be more receptive to this announcement if it wasn't a platform fighter in the vein of Smash Brothers. I think of something like a Power Stone, where Power Stone is not a traditional hardcore fighting game, but it's also not a platform fighter. It is very much its own thing with its own mechanics that anybody can pick up and appreciate, but it's this sort of like outside the box brawler fighting game that I wish we got. Like we can explore this. It doesn't have to fit into these very rigid categories. Right. Like make up something new. I don't know.
Well, and that's actually a fair point because I feel like, you know, you bringing up Power Stone is like, man, I think the level design might work better for what they're going for. If like you're supposed to be like setting up like different traps and tunnels and like co-op moves,
going after gems,
doing that in a side-scrolling platform, like it doesn't, like there's not a lot of room to move with that. There's not a lot of room to set something up like that. I don't feel like. The other thing that just bugged me the whole freaking time was the glow. The team glow on the characters.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I also think the other thing that is obviously taking away its thunder is this is coming immediately after the Nickelodeon platform.
Which I imagine must have been intentional. They were just wait it out.
Yeah, but it just, I think, just as a result of that announcement, it's like, we're doing one too, I definitely don't think is as interesting.
Which, I think the WB's really not mentioned that much because they don't want you to think, oh, this is WB's that. They're like, no, this is MultiVersus. This is free to play. We're going to be expanding on this.
They also did the Lego universe, right?
Player first, this team?
No, I mean WB, right?
Right.
So they brought in all kinds of properties to that.
Or you mean Dimensions? Or
like Dimensions,
right,
that's it. Yeah. So I think it could be along those lines to where it's not going to be necessarily just limited to their properties, you know, our in-house properties. Like they might pull in whatever they can get. And so I think that may be one reason that they didn't necessarily like feel like they had to slap their logo on the top of it.
They were, of course, saying that they're going to have more people in there. Animaniacs would be my... I want to put a name on the list there.
Happen.
Yeah. That would be super
That'll
fun.
Definitely
Kind of like
happen.
Ice Climbers, you know, like all three of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
they have all those new episodes and stuff happening. Yeah.
I really don't like the name MultiVersus, nor do I think their logo is very good.
Mm-hmm. It's messy.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing about it is there's just something with the art style that is just not clicking.
It's a little strange. Yeah, I wonder... It's like the Harley Quinn looks like Harley Quinn from her new
show.
Right.
show, and I wonder if that's the Batman from that show. I admittedly have not
Yeah,
caught up on
maybe.
that. Superman and Wonder Woman, also from DC. Bugs from Looney Tunes. Kind of surprising, one Looney Tunes character. It's like, whoa.
Give it
that's
time. Daffy's on the dock.
That's a well. Tom and Jerry from Tom and Jerry. Arya's from Game of Thrones. I mean, who else from... Who else in Game of Thrones is going to sell? I guess the head of the White Walkers.
Jon
or
Snow.
like-
Yeah,
Jon
Jon
Snow,
Snow.
I
there's
guess.
all kinds of people they could have, but yeah, that's the weirdest one. Game of Thrones just doesn't match up.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, and again, if they add like Fred later, it's like, they added Fred! Like, I think Shaggy might be the most exciting, other than Scooby. Finn and Jake from Adventure Time, Steven and Garnet from Steven Universe, and Rain Dog. Or Rhine Dog? Probably Rain Dog, but as an original character
Don't know
created
who
by
that
the
is.
team.
Wait, an original character?
Yeah, he's a reindeer.
Oh,
He's a
weird.
green reindeer dog.
Oh.
And I love, like, I looked him up, and everyone's looking this weird dude up.
Got it, yeah.
They just made him. He's out in there. And again, shout out to the voice actors. Maisie's coming back for Arya. Tara Strong's Harley. John DiMaggio's Jake. Jeremy Shadd is Finn. Daniel Devanere is Steven. And George Newbern is Superman, who replaced Tim Daly on the animated show. And Matthew Lillard is Shaggy, who's obviously not the original Shaggy. Casey
he's been
Kasem
doing it a
is
long
not
time.
around, but has been known for doing that for a while. New characters, mode, skins, events coming throughout the year, and they're doing a playtest if you want to sign up for
Dude,
that.
give me a Helm's
The
Deep map.
skins were all over the place too. The Shaggy
Yeah, the
skins in
Shaggy
particular.
ones, dude.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
they showcased Bizarro Superman, which is like, oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think, I don't know, after Injustice 1 and 2, I'm like, as far as the Batman fighting front, I'm pretty sated.
Sure.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, it's a whole different thing. I definitely want to get hands on before I pass judgment. It was kind of a miss for me after the rumors and things, and like, is this really gonna happen? And there it was, and like, well, I'm not not wanting to jump on it anytime soon.
It's so funny because yes, of course, haven't played it, all that good stuff, but literally no one remembers this, but DC did a MOBA a few years back.
Sure.
Yes.
that no one
vaguely,
remembers.
yeah.
And they had like a big event, and they were, and like that game has just been obliterated off the map. And it's just like, it's so funny because like it's just these people with these properties, they're like, we can do one of those. Like it just feels like that in such a cynical way. I don't know.
Well, that's the funny thing about like a party fighting game is that like Looney Tunes could easily do one just on their own. Like DC could, do one for days, like just that property. So
It's where
strange to get
Gotham
all of these together.
Imposters was so cool, and maybe is a good devil's advocate for what I was trying to say, because that was like such a weird, goofy, irreverent game that very much felt like it was kind of outside of the mold of what you would expect, and no one paid attention to it. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably like, what's a game series that works well with a bunch of different properties? And
Right.
everyone's like, oh, Smash Brothers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a tricky problem to solve.
I wish
Yeah.
it was a kart racer. That would have been sick.
Sakurai's finished. Now's our chance.
Yeah. Strike
Everyone's
now.
just gonna rush in. They're all here. Speaking of gaming playtests of sorts that you might want to be involved with, Halo multiplayer's out. Halo Infinite multiplayer.
The beta, yeah.
There's a shadow drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A powerful shadow.
Do you feel guilty now, Blood, that we didn't react to their 20th anniversary?
Oh, not at all. I was talking to Ben about this earlier.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I feel like everything that was in that, serves us better to get hands-on with Halo, to like digest the things that they're talking about, and I feel like it just wasn't a kind of event that I would feel like really works with reactions as much. There's not game announcements there. There's a lot of talking and explaining and just kind of celebrating the history of Xbox. It just didn't feel like the moment for that. Yeah.
Boy, getting hands-on with Halo, I feel like I had this moment last night where I was like, should I do something else? And then I just like hit play.
Yeah.
Like I like
I'll play a match while I'm thinking about it.
Jesus, it is so much fun.
We played it
A
for
lot of
group
great
stream.
things to
I
say.
had an absolute blast. It's been a while since I played Halo.
Right.
I love Brad. You're
Same.
like, the camera's so slow. It's fun to see just all of us putting our Halo shoes on and like, oh yeah.
Oh, because they played the night before on PC, so
Yeah,
it's
right.
That's why.
jumping from mouse
Turning-
and keyboard to
Oh,
controller.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's interesting because I will primarily play mouse and keyboard, but playing control in the group stream, I was like, no, like this has merit to. There's things I like about this. It felt.
I mean,
both seem valid.
Yeah, you could do fine with either.
Yeah.
I definitely need to put some more time in, past the group stream. I've only played then, and just from that, at least the matches and the modes we got into, it just felt very fast paced.
It's extremely fast paced, and like I was doing like big team battle and ranked matches. Like there was just such beautiful chaos where something like a series of events would happen, and the best were the desperate moments where like people like unexpectedly like ran into each other in a clump, and they're just like melee, and people are like hitting, and you don't expect to hit somebody, and then somebody else whiffs, and it's just like it's fast paced, it's chaotic, but there's so much skill involved. I think the maps are great. I think the weapon placements are generally really thoughtful. It's awesome.
Or just like defending one spot and you just don't see anybody and you hear like tink tink and you're like, oh no, you're like all the grenades just flying over. Like, curious to get your impressions, Ben, and everybody that's checked it out. But the XP is the biggest thing that is being reported coming out of it, and the biggest thing that they have addressed.
Well, the battle pass seems to be the big chink in the armor at the moment.
Is that people, have been playing a bunch of it and do not have a lot to show for it.
Right.
Which, Ben, you haven't had this problem because when we were playing on Tuesday night, you were level 27 or something. So like, you just, you've been putting a lot of time in.
No, it's funny because there's a premium battle pass and then a premium battle pass bundle which you can use to get to like 26, 27 immediately. And I got that not knowing, like I bought it sort of sight unseen, being like, how is this going to work? And then I was figuring it out actually just before the group stream. And then Isla, with a little poke, got it as well, and we both immediately
I got.
I
got. Ben's enthusiasm got me.
But beyond that, it's funny because this XP progression issue is actually not completely black and white, and there's a lot going on. And there's a lot of arguments that I think can go in multiple directions with it, because they actually just addressed it like today, and they have fixed it. But before that, you would get through a match, right? And let's say you get through a match and you perform really, really well. You're getting killing sprees, you're getting a bunch of medals, you're really playing the objective, you're doing well. That doesn't necessarily reward you in terms of battle pass progression. And I've definitely seen arguments that make sense regarding that, being like, what this is like you have these really crazy fun challenges, like these weekly challenges, like run over people with a vehicle, but then it's like, and I felt this last night where I was like, oh man, like I've got to run over 10 people with a vehicle, well I better get on that. And it's like, well, I'm not paying attention to the objective, right? And that's super annoying. I too hate that feeling when you are trying to win and you're trying to do well and your teammates aren't doing that because they're focused on the battle pass, right? And so that is really difficult. But at the same time, if it was just cut and dry as like get a lot of kills or get headshots or, just play the objective, that would get boring pretty quick. And so when you have kind of these more outlandish things, it does, like I would get challenges and it's like I would never think to do that unless I had gotten this weekly challenge. And so there is also merit to that in keeping the game fresh over time. And so it's like, how do you reward people? How much do you reward people? Because this first season is lasting until May, right? And so you have a ton of time.
Right.
And the Battle Pass does not expire. So when the next season comes out, this Battle Pass is still going to be available for you to go through. And so, like, you want people to feel like they're constantly making progression, but you don't want them to be done so quickly that they get bored. And so, like, I sympathize with 343 because I think they have this really, like, Gordian knot of a problem to figure out. However, they've changed it now to where you get 50 XP, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
So the way that they had it before...
The first match of the day, you just boop, 50 XP.
Yeah, well, no, it's every match, no matter what. You are now getting...
Or the daily challenge, I guess,
yeah.
gets 50 XP as well.
The way that it is now, no matter what, you get done with the match, you will get 50 XP. The way that it was before was it was scaled. So your first match, you would get XP, but then like you would have to do 2 matches to get XP, and then, so on and so forth, and it would go up. So it'd be like, you have to do 4 matches, and that's a challenge. But now, every match you get 50 XP. And when I first saw that, I was like, that should be 100 XP. 50 XP feels like, because it takes 1,000 XP
Per level.
to get a level.
Yeah.
So I feel like having it be 100 would still be okay. But then I saw somebody say, well, what if it's 50 XP for every match, but then it's 50 XP if you win? And I was like, that is interesting, because having that additional like addendum would encourage people to play the objective. But it gets even more complicated, because in addition to giving you the 50 XP per match, they've actually changed the weekly challenges to make them easier to complete. So you are getting more experience from the changes to the weeklies. And so there's like so much going into it. Yeah.
They basically just kind of hit the gas. You know, they were just like, let's try a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Because it would seem to me like weapon balance and experience balance, like progression, like those are the two, for me personally, most excusable. You know, like, we're in beta, we gotta get this stuff right. You know, things to work on. So this seems pretty in line with like what the beta is intended to do.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ben, and like, I think it should have been a mix of both, honestly. Like, Mike said it pretty well. It's like, when it first came out, the Battle Pass felt years behind. Like, there's a lot of objectives on there. I'm like, I'm never gonna fucking do this. Like, I'm never gonna do it. And some of them were bugged for me. Like, I would complete them and they just wouldn't work. And
That
I'm
is
like,
something
that
that they
sucks.
also addressed. There were a
And
number of
it's-
challenges where they're like,
it
we're
was
going to
just
fix
like
this.
annoying. Like, I know it's free to play, but then like you can just like you get terrible XP, but you can just buy it, and it felt like really incentivizing you to boost it, which is fine. It's free to play, but it's like, man, because I have the normal battle pass where I have to like, grind out a lot of stuff still, and it's like, man, if I felt like I actually played well, I'd be more rewarded more instead of you said just like dicking around just to get 3 kills with some weapon or something like that, or doing well in a ranked match or something. But it seems like they're working on it. Yes, it is beta, so
Well, to keep the monetary thing in mind, which is a good point, it is nice, like, because I would look at some of, I think the reason why like I was so excited about the Battle Pass is I would look at some of those cosmetic items and I was like, this looks awesome. Like I want this. I want to level up because I want to get this, which is
All of you spent a lot of time in that menu before we went live on your stream.
and there's like the amount of customization that you can go into. It's not just like, oh, here's a new Spartan suit. It's like you can customize the visor, you can customize the left shoulder pad, the right shoulder pad, the chest, the legs,
Icons.
the AI that you have, you know, the color of that AI, the icons that you get, the badge that you have. So there's a lot going in there, which I think is important for a game like this. But the other thing, especially when you compare it to games that just came out like Battlefield 2042 and Call of Duty Vanguard, this is completely free.
Yeah.
You know? And so while it definitely does have microtransactions that you can dig into, those are there. You don't need to buy the Halo Infinite campaign if you want to. You can just play multiplayer.
yeah.
And Spartans look cool.
Yeah, they do.
Spartans just make sense to me as something that's like, yeah, I want to mod the heck out of that
Yeah,
thing. Like,
man.
even just in the original, just being like, ooh, I like that color green. You know, like I had a bit of pride in there. You know, like, so yeah. Blood, double XP boosters now last for an hour instead of 30 minutes.
That is a good change.
Like
Wow.
30 minutes is nothing.
Yeah.
That's like a match.
But in their tweet, they said, the in-game tooltip may continue to show 30 minutes as their expected duration, but the boost's timer will start from 60 minutes once activated. That's how fast they implemented this. They were just like, change the 3 to a 6. And they're like, but it'll say another thing in the text. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
That's such an encouraging sign, though, because I do think a lot of the criticisms in regards to the progression and how it feels and all that stuff is absolutely valid. I agree with it. But it's so awesome that 343, I mean, this hasn't even been out a week, and they're like, okay, we're listening, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, you know, and it's not perfect yet, but, like, I really think they're taking huge advantage of this in a way that is awesome to see. I mean, like, Halo was crushing it on Twitch. Like, people were excited. The enthusiasm was there. And this is happening in the midst of 2 gargantuan franchises, Battlefield and Call of Duty, which it also helps that people don't seem to be very hot on those.
Yeah.
And so it seems like like Halo, after like all of its trials and all of its tribulations in like actually getting to this finish line, is like climbing the mountain in a way that is
You're
fantastic.
striking at a good time.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halo's showing up earlier than expected.
Yeah.
It hasn't been happening recently. I think getting good feedback, making changes as soon as they are. Anyone who signs in between November 23rd and 30th will receive this week's ultimate reward, the Sigil Mark 7 visor.
Okay.
Cool.
So I have to just vent about the UI.
Oh, the
Because-
UI, of course. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
It's
Yeah.
not good.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Seeing that everywhere.
understand it now because I've been able to spend a substantial amount of time with Infinite, but when you first get it into Infinite, you're like, okay, how do I get to this? Okay, these are my challenges. It wasn't until like way later that I even realized there was an ultimate challenge which you get by doing all of the other challenges. And it's just like, what is going on? Yeah, so I think the customization and figuring out exactly like how you get to what and where, I do think that stuff can be improved. And you can figure it out, but I think it takes a little bit more work than it
Yeah.
should.
It definitely needs some work.
How is this gonna be a great lead up to the campaign? Do you think it might overshadow the campaign, or do you think this is just like a nice ramp leading up to what
I
will
think
hopefully
this
be
is good
a good
forward
story?
momentum and goodwill for Halo going into the campaign.
I saw a thread on a message board, and it brought me so much joy because it was very relatable and funny. And the thread title was, "Man, I suck at Halo." And then there were a couple of replies that were like, "Yeah, I suck at Halo too. I'm just going to wait for the campaign." Oh, it was funny.
And now, a word from our sponsors. We have lots of sponsors here in the Easy Allies podcast, and I respect, admire, and love all of them. But if the world ended and I had to flee, I would be most sad about losing my Hello Tushy bidet. That would be, I think, when I think about my lifestyle right now and all of the things that have been improved because of sponsorships here on the Easy Allies podcast, I can't give it up. Stop spreading your business around your butthole with toilet paper. Start washing with Hello Tushy. The Hello Tushy bidet washes your bum with fresh water for a way better clean than toilet paper. You simply spray and pat dry. Attaches to your existing toilet. No electrician or plumber needed. I installed it. Installs in less than 8 minutes. Maybe it's supposed to. Maybe it should be a little bit longer, but that's my fault. Cuts down your TP use by 80%, saving money and paper waste. I actually needed a part, and they sent it to me for free. Thank you. Make the restroom your best room with a complete Tushy system, including the Tushy bidet attachment, ottoman, toilet brush, and Tushy stand and tissues. Join the millions of happy Hello Tushy customers right now who take care of their Yule logs the dignified way. Give the gift of a clean bum to yourself or your loved ones this holiday season and get 10% off plus free shipping right now at hellotushy.com/easyallies. That's hellotushy.com/easyallies for 10% off and free shipping. Thank you, Hello Tushy. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like leaving your laptop exposed at the coffee table while you run to the bathroom. That sounds terrifying. Most of the time, you're probably fine, but what if one day you come back to the bathroom and your laptop is gone? I don't think it would take too long for that to happen. Every time you connect to an encrypted network, cafes, hotels, airports, a hacker on the same network can gain access to your personal data, passwords, financial details, etc. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to hack someone, just some cheap hardware is needed. A smart 12-year-old could do it. Your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. So, why use ExpressVPN? It creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet, so hackers have a very hard time stealing your sensitive data. It'd take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. I'm sure they would say otherwise. Fire up the app and click one button to get protected. Phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure on the go. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/allies. That's expressvpn.com/allies. You can get an extra 3 months for free. expressvpn.com/allies. Shout out to ExpressVPN. We've used it before, obviously to protect ourselves, but also gain access to a lot of media that we would have issues gaining access to otherwise. So a shout out to ExpressVPN. expressvpn.com/allies. Honey is the free shopping cart tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds in your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores online. They range from sites that have tech and gaming products to popular fashion brands and even food delivery. Obviously, gaming products is primarily the sites that I am on when I see Honey pop up. But whether I get a discount or not from Honey, I always love Honey waving from the corner of my browser saying, "Hi, I'm here." Imagine you're shopping one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button drops down. All you have to do is click Apply Coupons. You wait a few seconds. As Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you will watch the prices drop. You literally gamify buying things online. It is extremely addicting. Honey has found its over 17 million members, over $2 billion in savings. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free to play, installs in a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/allies. That's joinhoney.com/allies. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. Have I ever mentioned that I like Grand Theft Auto?
No.
Has that ever come up? That I'm a fan of the series?
If you were a fan, it would have won Game of the Year.
Ooh.
Whoa, why do we even...
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
I was setting myself up for hurt for this, and now I'm hurting even more. I'm hurting even more. If you'd been in that room... Were you in that room, Ben?
I was.
It's a cold room.
I wasn't there.
That was a cold room.
I think it might be the angriest I've ever seen you.
That was like an intervention. That was like when everyone in the intervention's waiting, and then they walk into the room. Oh, they're here. You know, it's like, here comes Jones. We have to tell him. Whew. Empty calories, I remember. Ryan Stevens. Like, yeah, GTA 5, it's got GTA Online, stuff like that. Yeah, but there's a lot going on in that world. It's empty calories. It's like, okay. All right. I was excited because this week, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, 3 games that I love so much, were released as their definitive editions.
That title.
Wow.
Yeah. Woo. Basically what happened this week is Rockstar redefined, or at least defined for them as a company, what definitive means. For the modding community, definitive certainly means something. Maybe a little different than Rockstar. But I digress. We can get to that in a second. Not a lot the modders could do because they couldn't even play this game on PC. Ben, you couldn't play this game on PC.
I couldn't play this game on PC.
I was so happy because I got a PC code and sent it off to Ben. I was like, look at me, Blood, getting codes.
Yeah. It was so funny because...
Ben hit me up later. Hey, you got another console? I can maybe play this on.
I booted up the Rockstar launcher, which is annoying to do in and of itself. And then I was like, maybe it's on my end. Like, do I need to reinstall it? And I did a quick search online. And it's like, oh, no, it's down. And my response is like, oh, I'll bet they'll have it fixed, relatively soon. And then like an entire day went by and I was like, this seems bad.
Yeah. It was down for more than a day. When it came back, the definitive editions were not there. They did come back 3 days later. So they are there now. You can play all 3 of those games on the PC. It's $60 for all 3. They are separate games. There's not one big. Unlike Mass Effect, they're separate titles. So if you just want to keep one of them downloaded, you can. San Andreas, in particular, is 1, the game that I am playing the most of right now, and 2, probably the most lambasted game of all the definitive editions. Kind of like the poster child for everything that is wrong with a lot of these games. Bad frame rates all around, but specifically San Andreas. Has faces that are very, very, very easy to make fun of. Some super bad rain, which Huber brought up on Syndrome, and I was like, yeah, that rain is a little weird. And like I've now gone back and like watched it. I guess it didn't rain a lot in my game. I don't know. I've watched videos and like you can't. Sometimes you can't even see what's going on. You can't see what your character's doing. Misspelled text on signs, like clear spelling errors. Clearly, just like I'll put this in a different font, and then just like available that doesn't have with one L.
Well, and a lot of it is just like clearly sort of misread, and so like jokes that are meant to be on those signs don't make any sense because it's the wrong word now.
It's like when an AI writes a screenplay,
well,
it's just
it
like
was
amusing,
AI,
but smoothing out a bolt next to a donut when it should have been a bolt and not smoothed out. It's very, very easy to make fun of these. A bunch of songs are gone. Michael Jackson makes sense. Lionel Richie asked to be removed from Vice City. Lionel Richie was actually bummed that he was in Vice City because he didn't know it would be so violent after the fact. So some songs are just, you have to go literally to the artist. There's a lot going on with these games that aren't working. Did you eventually play any of these games on another console other than PC? Have you played the PC versions at all?
No, I haven't played the PC versions. Recently, I talked about in Frame Trap, I went through Grand Theft Auto 3, and I was like, oh, I want to do Vice City, because I've played Vice City and I loved Vice City, but I've never actually gone all the way through that game. And I'm like, man, I love Vice City so much. I know the definitive edition is coming out. I'll just wait for that. And so that is the one that I've played going into it. And it's been a weird experience. Like, there's still some appeal there. Like, I was driving around and listening to music that I love, and I love the vibes of Vice City. And I think a lot of the dialogue is great, but it's like the frame rate is bad. I'm clipping through the ground. Some of these faces look grotesque. And it's just like, why did this happen? I mean, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, all games that I have a deep love for. Why? And honestly, some of the most seminal video games ever made. I mean, these are juggernauts of video games. Like, why are they being presented like this from a company that goes out of its way to like overly make things look good? Like, I think about like the detail in Red Dead Redemption 2. Like,
Right.
It is like hyper extreme how beautiful that game is. It's disorienting to go from something like that to something that just feels like it was just like shoveled off, and like it feels so apathetic in a weird way.
Yeah.
I read a lot of articles of people, following Hauser's departure and Red Dead, Redemption 2 being over, GTA Online clearly not having any like substantial single player story based stuff, and they were like, oh, this is what Rockstar is. It's an online company. The big stories that we love from this team, the beautiful worlds, is not really something we should expect. And I was like, I don't know. I think that's a little quick, to jump to that conclusion. This week didn't help in terms of that idea.
Yeah.
Because it's not just these weird games. It's not just delisting them, which they did say they were going to do, and then taking them out of the stores and then replacing them with these. I went down a rabbit hole today of just all of the crazy things they've done versus the modding community, specifically around Grand Theft Auto, and just made like a short little timeline that doesn't go back that far. In July of this year, Take-Two went after a bunch of GTA mods with DMCA takedowns. I wonder why they did that. In February, they tried to erase open-sourced code for GTA 3 and Vice City.
Wow.
That fight is still going on. There was like an update today of them like firing back at them, and in 2017 they shut down the modding software Open4, but then later had to bring it back after fan outcry. There's been this has been a battle that modders have fought against Rockstar and Take-Two specifically for a very long time. They cited in their previous policy for mods, just don't mod anything from GT Online. Don't make single player mods, and just don't sell mods. Don't make money on them, and then we'll be fine. And now it's like, no, this needs to be this version of this. This version that modders have already jumped into, found the full soundtrack is in there. They literally just like cut off the songs that you can't access, but the songs are still there. There's a lot of dev comments in the code. Tons of cut content. Hot Coffee's still in there, which cost Rockstar $20 million back in 2005. Just leave that in there. So yeah, it's more than the visuals, Ben. It's just this like,
Oh yeah.
I have to imagine little to no oversight from Rockstar and Take-Two on ensuring that this was a quality product. In fact, going out of their way to ensure that it was the only product regardless of its quality.
Yeah, I mean, this is speculation on my part. I don't know exactly how the conversations went down, but the final product reeks of arrogance. It's like, it reeks of like, we're Grand Theft Auto, this is all we have to do, and people will still show up for it.
And they haven't modded, or they haven't patched the PC versions of these games like in decades. It's just not something that they do.
To play Grand Theft Auto 3 on PC, I had to use a mod.
So it's not like they've over time really been doing it, and then it was this big effort to remaster it, to bring it back as a whole new version. And like, I'm also having a blast playing San Andreas. This has been a very weird emotional week for me. I'm also like, again, just to play devil's advocate, the lighting, draw distance, interiors, like the walls have like wallpaper on them and stuff. The camera movement, being able to move that in any car in all the games.
That's
like,
so cool.
There's so many things that are immersing me in this world.
But even
I'm
the
also
improvements that they make are like bad. Like there's a new targeting system, and it feels awful.
It takes it's an acquired taste for
yeah,
sure.
like it's not that
There are
isn't,
some shootouts that I was just like pixel by pixel going around the corner, like, please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me.
It's not that there isn't fun to be had. It's just like, it should be better than this.
So clearly there's this fear, I think, and granted, this is just all speculation, but like, at Rockstar of like, no, the easiest way to make money is you shut down all the people that are trying to make a better product than we are. You give the community the only product that they can buy, and then it's such a big property, they're going to go and buy that stuff. And it's like, okay, I can see your tactics, but it's like, why hasn't like a Valve or a Bethesda showed this industry that mods kick ass and can be really great for your community and can really, empower a lot of people and give you a lot of sales at the end of the day? Like they can't be looking back at their strategy and being like, well, that worked.
Well, I think a lot of it was probably, I don't know what the fiscal year cutoff is, but a lot of it's probably that of we have to get this game out to make max profit kind of thing. But like you said, like Grand Theft Auto 3 is one of the most important games I think of all time, of like just shaping what an open world game can be. And like I played it, I've been playing the remaster a little, and I haven't played it since PS2. And I'm like, damn, this is like disappointing, man. Like when you can't even get the frame rate to run like well, I'm playing on a PS5 for God's sakes.
I was playing GTA 3 on Switch.
And it's a PS2 game, man.
Yeah.
It's like really upsetting.
It's a PS2 game that they like released a phone version of like 10 years ago.
And it reminds me a lot of Nintendo with their like virtual console offering. It's like they're just releasing bad stuff and they're getting
here's
outdone.
the thing, it's actually worse than that. Because like at least with Nintendo, like they're releasing the thing as it was, and then the emulator's not up to snuff, and so it like creates some problems there. You know, it creates some transparency issues and whatever. But with this, it's like they actually tried to make it better, but didn't seem to have any direction, any idea. Like it would have been better if they just put a ROM out.
You know,
like,
I mean,
it's like what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo does that too with Majora's Mask. The remake is just inferior in a lot of ways compared to the original. It's like they redo these things, they revisit these games, and they just make them worse than the original game, and it's really a bummer.
But you look at some of the models in this definitive edition, and it's like it's straight up amateurish.
Yeah,
like, they look horrible.
It's so weird,
and it's $60.
Yeah, it's not like you could just buy it for $20 one game, you know? Right. It's like you have to buy this bundle. You have to.
Yeah.
But like even with like Majora's Mask, as much as I was harping on the remake 3DS one, it's like at least you could still get the original version on Wii U or something, you know? Even though it's like a bad emulator, but it's like still kind of get it, I guess.
And it's been a hot minute since I've played the Majora's Mask remake, but at the time I was like, this is gorgeous. Like,
it looks great. But then when you like start picking apart gameplay aspects of it, you're like, oh man, why did they do this?
Yeah, I wish this definitive edition for Grand Theft Auto was like us picking apart things. It's not that. It just feels like there's multiple elements.
It's just
in the
like
room.
On fire when you boot it up. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah. It just feels like the game is exploding at all times.
Yep. Yeah. It's upsetting, man. Yeah. It really bums me out when they do this to these beloved games, especially when they take away the ability to buy the old version.
Right.
Like, luckily, you could still go buy, a physical one.
Right, because
somewhere.
a real definitive edition, would be something. Like the Halo collection or like Diablo, where it's like you can kind of do the wipe back and forth. I mean, Halo had its issues with online, but it was way better than this.
Yeah. Oh, Halo 2 is fascinating. That click, just that simple click of just like mid jump, looking at the environments. You know, like they're so cool. Had a lot of fun playing Mass Effect. It's like, not to be black and white, but it's like remasters are either really great or really bad. Like it's rare to kind of get this middle ground. Like. You either care and then we can, like squabble over, this texture or that, but it's just so obvious when it's not something that they care about.
Yeah, and for a company as big as Rockstar, I think the expectation is justifiably greater.
Of course.
And it's not just that Rockstar is big to me either. It's like they don't put out a lot of games.
Yeah.
No.
They're known for taking their time to put out quality products.
Right. That's what honestly that's a huge part of it is they have a reputation and it seems like they're being very protective of that reputation. So there's no way that they don't know about these things, right? Yeah. And so and they don't have to release it. Like I don't understand.
No offense, Jones, but it reminds me of Warcraft 3 Reforged. Of just like, what are you doing?
That's the weird position that I'm in. Is that like I'm going to, after I export the podcast you're listening to right now, I'm going to play San Andreas until I pass out. I finally got to San Fierro. I finally got out of town. I can see Vegas, like in the corner, or Venturas, I think it is. I'm very much enjoying my playthrough. It's reminding me about how wonderful San Andreas is. It's really like I'm like, wow, San Andreas is incredible. So like I'm enjoying reminding myself of that. But I'm not gonna apologize on behalf. I'm not going to get in between anyone complaining in this company because this is when I found out that, or again, this is all. I didn't hack the code, but when they said hot coffee was in there, it's like, oh come on, like what an easy way to make yourself look stupid. What an easy way to make fun of you. Like
Yeah,
you don't have to get up very early to think up that joke.
I know that feeling because like when I was playing Vice City, there were definitely things that put a smile on my face, and I think fundamentally it is such a good game. But like I also feel like, man, I was so excited to play Vice City. Should I just go back to the PS2 version? Like I might just do that. Like
Yeah.
Just go to.
I've definitely had that.
Go to eBay, get a copy.
I
and
remember when
I
listen
have
to
a
Lionel
copy.
Richie. Nice.
when the PlayStation re-releases.
copy.
The PlayStation releases of Final Fantasy VI and all that came out.
Oh,
Oh,
the PS1 ones?
Yeah, and I got like partway through the intro, I heard that the wind sound effect was just complete garbage. Did not. It was just a glitch essentially. Like that. It was entirely wrong. Not to mention the load times and all that. And it's like, I'm just gonna put the Super Nintendo copy in. I'm not gonna deal with
didn't
this.
add
See,
anything.
it's funny because I didn't have that option. It was
Right.
like I didn't have a Super Nintendo, so it's like if I want to play these games, I have to.
Right.
Do
Well,
this.
I mean, that's kind of how I was with Final Fantasy V. It's like, well, I just will have to deal with this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have a comparison point, so I don't know.
Well, with Final
what
Fantasy
they've screwed up.
V with that release, the PS1 release, that was the first time you could. That was your only option. Yeah. So.
We will see if they fix it, but it's like ever since Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, this company hasn't done a lot of things that have been like, oh boy, like that really resonate with me, or that I can like tell other people like, yeah, that's one of my favorite companies, woohoo. So that's like the other bummer is that like I hope I hope there's some sort of turnaround on this. I hope there's something.
And when was this?
Because there's
actually
rumors,
announced?
super early rumors, but there's also like weird modding stuff between Rockstar and them. For GTA 4. And so there's like rumors like GTA 4 might get a re-release or a remaster or something.
Sure.
And it's like, whatever Rockstar wants to do next, they're going to have to like I'd be astonished if they were just like, well, that released anyway, moving on. It's like, no, you have to, I don't know if answer for it's the right word, but just like,
But this was just
account for
announced
it.
like weeks ago, right?
yeah, we didn't see gameplay. We barely saw gameplay. We saw like
Officially,
cutscenes
yeah.
and stuff. And
So it's
no
that's the
early
thing to
review
me, it's like,
copies.
if you have this thing sitting behind the scenes and nobody's expecting it,
right.
why are you
yeah,
pushing it out?
Get it into the financial year. I don't know.
It is so funny just in this conversation, the true, like in the most absolute sense of this phrase, the peaks and valleys of series. Because right now, with the Legendary Editions, Mass Effect is on this high.
Yeah.
But at the time of
Yep.
Andromeda's release, it was like the biggest meme in video games. And we're talking about Blizzard, which is in complete shambles.
We'll get to that.
And Rockstar, and it's just like in a year, is Rockstar going to be on top again? Are they going to do something that's going to blow us away?
We'll see. GTA skipped the PS4. They just kind of they just vaulted over it. No new GTA on the PlayStation 4. That was unusual, considering we got 3 of them on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Wasn't the dev time for Vice City like super short?
I do not know.
I
I
think it
want to
was
say
like
it was
a.
the next year.
Yeah,
I think
a
it
year
was
or
like a
two.
Majora's Mask situation.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Made a good game.
Yeah.
I originally was classifying this next section as Activision-Blizzard updates. It's like we don't talk about Activision-Blizzard every week, but it's like sometimes like there's just a lot
feels
happened,
like
and so
it,
we
yeah.
need to update. This is not just an Activision-Blizzard update. Bobby Kotick is under fire.
Yep.
Okay, Bobby Kotick has not had a good week. I'm enjoying that a little too much. The Wall Street Journal dropped a bunch of bombs. Some of these actually, like I think when we talk about this company now, like there's a minefield of potential trigger warnings. There's a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of uncomfortable stories. So I don't want to dive deep into details. I do think it is worth mentioning for people that are not really focused on this that in 2016, allegedly Bobby Kotick threatened to kill his assistant in a voicemail.
Threatened to have someone kill him.
He left a voicemail and he said, "I will have someone kill you."
Yeah.
Okay. In 2000,
No, I mean, like,
while he was on a
what did he
plane,
say?
he said, "I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
speechless.
yeah.
I don't know what to." And I'm sure kind of has the air. I'm sure like a lot of executives would be like, "Well, it's like that Mel Gibson phone call. Like, it's like every now and then we hear something of executives like, oh well, sometimes you say that because you're mean. Sometimes you're not." I wouldn't actually do that. Once told a flight attendant involved in a lawsuit with the pilot I'm going to destroy you. He denies this. Primarily, it looks like he knew not only obviously he was involved in his own, harassment, his own unique harassment, but knew completely about all of the sexual harassment issues that they faced, assault, gender discrimination, and didn't do anything. He's said specifically he did not do that. He did not hear about these things. Emails, allegedly have surfaced. Dan Bunting, the co-lead of Treyarch, has left the studio this month after sexual harassment accusations. HR originally recommended that Dan leave 4 years ago. Just kind of sets the tone
Think about
for...
the Blizzard HR that's been under fire for being incompetent, and even they recommended that he be let go.
Not to just rattle these off, but I mean, it's because it's like I want to open this up to discussion, but I'm not sure what it is beyond this guy is a scumbag and should retire, and a lot of people are saying as much.
I mean, Phil Spencer getting out there and saying we will evaluate
hot off the presses,
and Jim Ryan,
and Jim Ryan.
Like, that is absolutely what should happen, and it's interesting because it's like that is absolutely what should happen, and those stances from those companies that have that much power, I agree with it, but at the same time, like, it speaks to how terrible things have gotten that they are actually making those statements, right? Because there have been a ton of controversies surround. You don't hear them saying we're going to reevaluate our relationship with Ubisoft, and it just speaks to like how absolutely rotten Blizzard is that they are getting out there and saying it.
I don't know if you recall an email from Fran Townsend, the chief compliance officer,
Yes.
who's a very interesting cast member in all of this. But allegedly, she sent out an email that led to the first walkout. It really was kind of like it was like, okay, this is tone deaf. This is when everyone like, this is in print is just not the way you should be communicating. This is clear evidence that stuff is going wrong there because a lot of stuff wasn't proven. Oh yeah, Bobby wrote that.
Oh, well, because he called it tone deaf afterwards.
Bobby Kotick wrote that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrote like I feel that I am at this company and blah, 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 blah.
Well, yeah, he wrote it. It got backfired. Then he said it was tone deaf, blaming it on them.
Yeah.
Essentially throwing them under the bus.
A group of shareholders called for Bobby and two directors to resign. This is 4.8 million shares out of 779 million shares. So I don't know how much power they have.
But the board backed him up. They got behind him.
I have more to go through. Do you want me to read what the board said, Ben? It's juicy. I was going to say
I
it
feel
for
like I
the
have read
very
what
end.
you said, but you know what? Not to take away from the severity of this conversation, but every time Bobby comes up, I remember that he's in the movie Moneyball, and it really upsets me. It's just like it just like digs at me. I just hate it.
I got to find that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall. It's on Netflix, though, I think. Or I think it might have left Netflix. Now I'm thinking about Moneyball. Allegedly, Activision-Blizzard extended the company's Thanksgiving break in anticipation of the story's publication. And Bobby just like cut his salary to like 60 grand or something. He was just like, all right, I'm making the big. You'll remember that tomorrow when you found out that I asked, told my assistant that I'd try to kill her. Jim Ryan, quote, was disheartened and frankly stunned, which thank you, Jim. I love that quote. Jen O'Neill, who we talked about last week or the week before, left and I think really just kind of wants to leave all of this Blizzard stuff, not necessarily leave it behind, but focus specifically with the group that she's with and trying to make these changes. Emails are floating around, and a quote has been passed around a lot from one of these emails. Tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against.
Yeah. Well,
on top of all the other stuff that Jen had issues with.
Biggest things that stood out to me is just the insanity of this, where they're reeling, right? They're reacting to all of this stuff. They're reacting to the lawsuits. They're reacting to the walkout, and they're like, okay, we're gonna put Jen O'Neill and Mike Ibarra as co-leaders in Blizzard to help clean up this disparity. And in the midst of that, they don't pay her as much as Mike. And it's just like, what?
They do
What?
after she resigned.
She resigned,
Well,
and
they
then
did
they
it
were like,
after she
right,
resigned.
which is
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
But I mean, that's months after the
And it's
fact.
Right, but that is why it's so ridiculous.
They both put in requests to be paid equally early on,
Right.
and they just dragged their heels. It's like, you think in the situation they would do it immediately.
right.
But and it also brings up begs the question, is like, why did they need to co-lead? you're replacing one person.
I mean,
why didn't you just have her?
It was a
This
PR
shows
move,
like
yeah.
you're not valuing her at all.
Yeah, oh,
because you need to
absolutely.
have Mike
Yeah.
Ibarra next to her. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
This was the board's response. The Activision-Blizzard board remains committed to the goal of making Activision-Blizzard the most welcoming and inclusive company in the most welcoming and inclusive company. Under Bobby Kotick's leadership, the company is already implementing industry-leading changes, including a zero-tolerance harassment policy that doesn't apply to Bobby, a dedication and significant internal and external investments to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. The board remains confident that Bobby Kotick appropriately addressed workplace issues brought to his attention. The goals we have set for ourselves are both critical and ambitious. The board remains confident in Bobby Kotick's leadership, commitment, and ability to achieve these goals. Can't stop now. We've already left we're off to the races to make improvements. If we take them out now, we can't make those improvements.
Right. I mean, they just want to keep him because he made him a lot of money. That's the only reason.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we at this standstill? Is the board like, no, we're gonna die on this hill forever? Like there's no emails you can dig up. There's no.
Now that
doesn't matter what we said or
investors
did
and
or
partners
didn't do.
and stuff are starting to talk, I have a hard time seeing how they turn this around short of just like completely admitting guilt and actually being transparent with every piece of evidence that they've been trying to butter up. Like it just, like I just don't see at this point what coming back from this could look like. There's just such, and with the walkout and stuff, I saw some quotes from employees that are like, it's like they're trying to force us to unionize.
Right.
Because like what they're doing and what they're saying and not actually listening to, or even, I think they don't even acknowledge that group, the Better ABK.
The ABK Alliance, sorry. I've already moved on to the next story. The ABK Workers Alliance, they're staging another walkout.
Yeah.
They got Fire Bobby Kotick trending for a bit.
But and they have a petition set up for the general public to go and sign if you want to get involved with that. So it's just, the wave is so high right now. I'm just not sure how they get out of it.
Yeah.
I don't think they can just wait this out.
I have to wonder if the board's initial response is in part based on, like, Bobby has been sort of a punching bag in gaming circles for as long as I can remember, right? Where I think I've seen Bobby in like devil horns more than I've actually seen his face, right? And so I wonder if there's some sentiment of like, oh, they're riled up again. But Bloodworth is absolutely right. This time is absolutely different, and it is coming after like an absolute tidal wave, and the evidence, like the allegations are so damning, and the people that are speaking out have so much influence in regards to like actual game distribution that I don't know how you get out of this.
One thing I do want to make clear, in case people haven't been following stories, the Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer things are a little weird because they're not actually public statements. They were emails to their staff that they probably knew would get leaked and spread around. So it's weird. So like they're making a statement without making a statement. There's a little bit of a strange middle ground there, but at least hopefully it's an encouraging sign that they actually are looking into, okay, well, what do we do to address this, to address people's concerns, to address our own concerns? So
Phil Spencer said a lot of things this week that I like. Phil had a good week. Phil, as you know, shout out to Microsoft, or shout out to the Xbox, 20th anniversary. Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
they sent us a Forza car with the 20th anniversary paint job. That was fun.
All of their latest and greatest titles listed on the side, in case you forgot.
Us meaning everybody that plays the game. Not an
They
actual
sent-
car.
Yeah, they sent Easy Allies. Each of us got an actual car.
Microsoft just did a lot of great things this week to celebrate. They added an FPS boost to 37 more games on the Xbox Series X and S on Monday. 70 plus new Xbox and Xbox 360 games were added. Fear to backwards compatibility. The Fear series, Dead or Alive, Max Payne, Time Splitters, some Star Wars stuff in there.
Yeah, I think what's cool looking at that backwards compatibility list is it's not just obvious stuff. It it is really such a broad range of things, which is exactly what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it comes with a caveat that it's basically this is the last batch,
Right.
Yes.
and this is a real. It shows kind of the issues and the problems with licensing. I mean, we're talking about Forza. Like, it still blows my mind that Forza is like the highest rated racing series on the planet, and you can only buy Forza Horizon 4 and 5. Like, all the others have been completely delisted.
I actually went through that process, like very ignorantly. I was like, "Oh man, I'm really loving Forza Horizon 5. It would be cool if I could just get like all of the Forza games just like on this Xbox."
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I like searched, and it basically felt like it was saying like, "What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
You want Forza Horizon 4? You want Forza Horizon 5?" And it's just like, "What? This is your premier." One of your premier titles.
Well, Motorsport is entirely unavailable now.
Right, yeah.
All
And
of them.
it is because of licensing, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
They licensed the cars for, I think, 4 years or something along
Sure.
those lines. Yeah.
Right. And it is just the nature of the business, but it is still disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so car licenses, music licenses, whatever else, they can't make any other games. There are some technical issues with some. They didn't really go into specifics, but they can't make those games backwards compatible because even though you're just sticking your Xbox disc into your system and downloading a patch, legally that's apparently still considered, redistributing the game on a
Which
new
is
platform.
insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why Phil Spencer comes in. My hope, and I think I have to present it in a way, present it that way as of now, as an industry, we work on legal emulation that allows modern hardware to run any, within reason, older executable, allowing someone to play any game. I think in the end, if we said, hey, anybody should be able to buy any game or own any game and continue to play, that seems like a great North Star for us as an industry.
Yes.
So Phil, it's interesting, kind of like, talking about the limitations that they have, specifically in quote, as you mentioned, licensing, legal, and technical restraints to bring all of this stuff. But it's also saying at the same time, like, this following, Rockstar and Take-Two's, aggressive actions, just to be like, no, don't get in there messing with the code, don't get in there, making these games look a way we don't want them to look. 70 plus new games coming Xbox from Xbox and 360. Auto HDR on Series X and X, resolution boosts on all Xbox consoles, including Xbox One.
Which is so cool. Like they
extremely
don't have to do that, and the
Yeah.
fact that they are taking that extra step is wonderful.
So so people, Blood, like you were saying, you shared, writing to this effect, with us of people, piracy advocates. I'm seeing a lot of people like, I hate that word, just like, I want to have access to these things. I want these things to
Right.
be preserved. I want us to push this technology. I saw that there was a big advancement in PS2 emulation. It's like someone figured out every single one of them for controllers except one weird like fishing game or something that they're just like, that's a weird controller, but like we've got most of it figured out. That these people are fighting a good fight, that our industry should not be vilifying them. Does it say something that that Phil is taking the stance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in some ways it's a little bit of a funny statement because there's plenty of legal emulation, including what they're doing with backwards compatibility and the N64 Online and a lot of the collections that Digital Eclipse does. But yeah, so I'm curious what he means by that, by legal emulation. But it also means, figuring out that legal path, right? That this backwards concept of a game is built for a machine that will essentially expire in 6 years. That whole framework has to sort of change somehow so that those things can move forward. And the simple matter of why these things won't be available is that people don't see the money in it, or they don't want to be associated with a thing anymore. And so, just like what you're saying with like Lionel Richie doesn't want to be
Right.
in
Vice City,
or whatever, and it's strange because you should just be able to, if you can physically get the disc into something, or even not, if you can get a ROM, like there's got to be a way to do that.
To me, that was my read on what Phil was
Yeah.
saying. Is like I want to be able to make a thing that runs everything and put it on our Xbox Series X. Is what I thought he was saying. pretty much.
Exactly. But it's like how, I feel like the technical side of it is one thing, but there's so many experts out there that have, nailed those things, like Microsoft themselves got it, team of people to emulate the N64 for Rare Replay. I don't know how that compares to the Switch Online. I'm curious.
I was thinking about Rare. Shout out to Rare Replay, man.
Yeah.
It was such a great repackaging.
It was
and
cool.
They got all
history
those
lesson on all that stuff.
early PC games in there and everything. I think that is less of a concern, considering how much investment they put into their backwards compatibility teams, than whatever legal mess has to be wrangled out, because just not a lot of other publishers are on that same page. And then you mix in outside industry, and it's like, well, is Burger King going to want you to play Snake King again? I don't know.
I wish backwards compatibility had been more of an ironclad standard. I wish it was an absolute priority, that whatever hoops needed to be jumped through were figured out, and I wish that with every Sony console, with every Microsoft console, and with every Nintendo console, you have access to the games that you purchased in previous generations. I realize that it is not a simple thing, but I do ideally wish that is a drum that would have been banged harder.
Had that impression at some points, like PS2 and PS3. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I can play all these games
forever. But then you find out the reason that worked is like they just put a PS2 inside of the PS3.
Yeah, right.
And then they ripped it out later because it cost too much.
Well, it was Sony that spoiled me. I was like, oh, this is what we're going to get every gen. Cool.
Yeah.
And it was a shock.
It was awesome.
pretty ignorant about it. Like, oh, right.
Absolutely. And like you think about like the tapering off of the PS3, because later models of the PS3, it's like, no, it's not backwards compatible, and earlier models were. And it's frustrating. And so I think what Microsoft is doing, and the reason why I'm so warm to it and I have such a positive response to it, is they feel like they're fighting for this thing harder than the other guys, and they've been consistent.
Way harder.
Yeah.
They've been consistent with that fight for a very long period of time now, and I think that deserves
they've
recognition.
Been hitting an area that the other two aren't hitting as hard.
Yeah.
And it's making a lot of those people happy. Because I think it's important, man.
And if Phil says, this is the end. We've kind of hit a wall here.
Yeah.
I think it's worth recognizing like the effort they've made.
I wonder if there is, and it probably still, there's just so much, again, legal weirdness, but I wonder if there's a system similar to Game Pass that could make this work out for them, to where, it's like, okay, we're going to register all of these games in a database, and then we're going to pay you your 3 pennies, you stupid, you greedy punks, it's like.
Here are your 3 pennies.
So somebody out there played, first Guilty Gear or something, and okay.
Forza Horizon 1.
Right.
The thing that is, for as great as Game Pass is, and as much of its praise is deserved, it still runs into the problem of this thing is only available on this service for this period of time.
Right.
Which is definitely a shortcoming to it.
Yeah, but at least the first party stuff's there like forever,
Right,
as far as I'm aware.
Right,
So
right.
that's
No,
at least good. So
the-
they have total control, and they can at least leave there.
The when you look at like the pie, it's like so much good and just a little sliver of bad. But it is something where like when I see like, oh man, I wish I had time to play that, and it's going to be leaving this week or whatever. That it's still disappointing.
And it's not like Netflix where it's like, this movie will be gone tomorrow. You're like, well, watch it now.
Yeah.
It's like, this 60-hour RPG is going to be gone tomorrow. Like, well, fun then. Also, shout out to the cloud gaming beta now available on Xbox One and Xbox Series S with Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Because paired with Game Pass and having that on your console, the biggest use case they talked about is if you just want to check out a game, you don't have to wait for it to download. You can just play it on the cloud really quick and see, do you like this? Are you into it? Do you want to download it and go from there?
I did finally try out xCloud on my phone very briefly, but it was definitely one of those moments that you get every so often where I was like, I'm playing Gears of War 5 on my phone, and it's looking awesome and running well. And yeah, it was just neat.
Did you sync a controller to it? Or?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I did sync a controller to it, yep.
Nice.
Doesn't feel like an immediate thing for this industry, so the industry is like really, really jumping at, but it works, and has run well. And whenever that gets updates, it's good to hear. And got a super crazy tease of that. Could have mentioned this back in the Halo conversation, but that show, Halo the series, coming exclusively to Paramount Plus.
I wish it wasn't Paramount Plus.
Me too.
But I do want to watch
Lots
it.
of Halo fans.
Didn't they like do a Halo live action thing a long time ago?
Yes.
And an animated thing?
Yes.
Yes.
They've done
Okay.
several animated things.
Okay.
They've done hand-drawn CG.
Maybe this one will stick.
When it did the
Yeah.
Halo retro, I watched all that stuff back to back to back to back to back.
It's funny.
Read some books.
I haven't watched the Halo anime stuff. I need to do that. I should make time.
And they
for
started
that.
talking about the didact. I was like, I know a lot about the didact from like comics and stuff. Well, I'm ready for this conversation. Also, this week, Among Us and League of Legends crossed over for Riot's Arcane event. And that thing is still rocking. A bunch of new stuff was added. We talked about it last week. And it is more kick-ass than we originally
Yeah,
said.
there are a lot of different partnerships that are sprouting up everywhere. Yeah,
And just the
I
quote
think I
of...
saw Magic the Gathering one. Or something.
yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Just the quote, I'm not into League of Legends, yet I really like the show. Just copy-paste in our YouTube comments. Just like, 7 or 8 people mentioned. Monster Hunter Rise is crossing over with Sonic the Hedgehog, starting on November 26th. Speaking of big crossovers, Naruto finally came to that Fortnite there.
I bought him.
Was rumored for a long time. What else have you bought in Fortnite? Was that it?
Star Wars.
Okay.
That's it. I think.
Nice.
Oh, no, Resident Evil.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Private Division acquired Roll7, the developer of the Ollie games.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, they've been working with them already on the new game, but it's
Yeah.
interesting
well.
because Private Division essentially is, in quote unquote indie publisher, and so to say like, okay, we're gonna have an internal studio now. I'm curious where that's going. I'm curious whether that just means they're very confident in this game, or if they have plans for them to do something afterwards, or what's going to happen.
Mario Kart Live Home Circuit got a free version 2.0 update that adds split screen and co-op, which are a pretty big
Yeah,
deal.
that's cool.
That's
Yeah,
one of those
free.
things where like I keep forgetting that it exists, and
Yeah.
then every once in a while I'll be reminded. And like I don't know. Like, is it good? Like, is it worth?
It's all right.
It's a lot better now. I mean, I
Okay.
think this is one of the things maybe
we have
had-
one. I
had-
can bring it back in and you can play it.
But in your like,
I played it
Based
for I played it for 2 hours for a shoot and have not touched it since.
okay, so that to me is like, don't spend money on that.
Ben Moore.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look
Yeah.
in the monitor.
Absolutely.
Don't
Absolutely.
buy this game,
Absolutely.
Ben Moore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't see it on sale.
that's all I need. That's all I
I'd
need.
give 'em 5
That's all I need.
hours.
But that's the
If
funny.
you have kids and get 2 of them, I could and like want your whole
Yes.
family to do it.
And that's the thing. There's
just
4-player
the use
split
case,
screen,
yeah.
and there's like a character swapping thing. They've added new animations and
yeah,
but like having
that's the
one
thing
by
to-
yourself is like not.
Yeah.
Really
that's the thing
worth
to me is it sounds like this is like you bought one of these last year. Wouldn't it be cool if you bought another one?
it. Right.
Listen,
'cause
I'm
it
gonna
works
need
now.
to.
Christmas is coming.
yeah, it's like that Mario Party Online. It's just these random features that come to Nintendo games so late.
It's not a bad game, and it works really surprisingly well. But it's like if
You
you don't
need-
have 2 and you don't have
And you got
kids,
East
there's
and
no-
West,
yeah.
and these are awesome cat chasers. So,
Oh,
these just
God. No. Do you want to hear something that happened today? It's such a. I wake up. I'm barefooted. I go out into the living room. I step on something wet and gooey, and I'm like, "What is
could
that?"
be many things.
Unintententionally,
Yeah.
did not see it. Stepped in cat vomit. Very
yeah,
nice.
probably
Oh,
cat vomit
very
though.
nice.
Okay.
You could drive a Mario Kart into that.
But
Hazard.
yeah, definitely something that if you have a large open space, benefits you much more
I don't.
than
have
if you
to.
have small
Yeah, you
apartments
gotta
like
have
us.
a house to play this game.
Yeah.
Um,
Step 1, buy
So
a
like
house.
not for LA residents, basically.
Yeah, or millennials or
Right. Right.
Riot shadow dropped 2 games, Ruined King and Hextech Mayhem, and announced some other details of some other stuff. So, big week for Riot. Phil Spencer basically confirmed that Elder Scrolls 5 will be exclusive to Xbox and PC.
Elder Scrolls 5 is on everything.
Elder
Even
Scrolls
for
6,
refrigerators.
sorry.
Yeah.
6.
Elder Scrolls 5 is on.
So the
Many
previously-
versions of Elder Scrolls.
Previously,
My
this happened
PS5
with
is like,
Starfield.
which
and now
Skyrim are we talking about?
we're just now getting around to Elder Scrolls. It's so
Yeah.
You don't
funny.
want to announce them all at once. You want to rip that Band-Aid off slowly. Turtle Rock thinks Back 4 Blood is too hard. So they're going to mess with that difficulty. Again, something that seems right for them to do.
Yes.
Seems something that they're passionate about.
Yes.
I love the quote, though. They specifically called the difficulty in Back 4 Blood their baby bear because it's got to be just right. Pragmata from Capcom has been delayed to 2023.
Yep.
The little girl held up a sign. She said she's sorry. little blonde girl. We know so little about this game. It's a perfect time to delay.
If
Go
Dragon's
for it.
Dogma 2 is
Sure.
next year, all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saints Row's been delayed from February to August.
Yeah.
Smart move.
First
Smart-
February delay.
smart
Here
move.
they
Get
come.
out
Yeah,
of
going out.
February, dude.
Yeah, dude, I
Get out.
want more February delay. I do.
Ubisoft is planning a quote entertainment center to launch in 2025.
No thanks.
And they're gonna do a theme park after that. I don't know if it's on the same spot, and I don't know if this is like,
theme
dude,
park.
I don't know if
I
this is like
can't
the
wait to ride
Disney
the
World
XD
arcade,
ride.
like if it's gonna be something like that,
don't
where like
know.
you play the games.
I'm
but also,
so like unsure of what the first thing is because it's part of like this larger complex that's being built along the Mediterranean.
In
somewhere.
real life?
Yes.
yes,
What?
Probably
right.
like the rabbit.
And so
things.
I picture something along the lines of like a Universal City Walk or something. Like, I think that's sort of what this is going to be like, you know, because they mentioned the theme park would be later. So it's just like, what is this 3D immersive experience with Ubisoft brand? Like,
That's the new Splinter Cell game. It'll just be a thing at this place. That's it.
because it almost sounds like a VR thing, but no,
Yep.
like you're talking about a physical place.
Yeah.
So
All those beloved
physical
Ubisoft
places.
characters.
yeah.
really big right now. 2020, 2021, people are hot to go places. Embracer Group, that company making the big hug around the industry, so I like to
Yeah.
remind myself of them, acquired 37. They merged and acquisitioned 37 different companies.
This year.
Acquisined.
Acquired.
Sure.
He knew.
They made 37 of those in 2021, and they plan to match that next year. 37.
buying everyone up.
Okay, we don't need it.
Yeah. And Sumo Group, they pledged to become carbon neutral across all of their studios by 2025. So by the time that Entertainment Center comes out, Sumo Group will have that all evened out. Kudos, Sumo Group. That's the news I like to hear from this industry. Let's play a game. From Cody Spencer. This game is called Mario vs. Zelda. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
It's simple. Which of these two games has a higher Metacritic user score?
Ooh, okay.
Metacritic
Oh, no.
user score. In case of a tie, we defer to the critic score for the win. Super Mario Brothers versus The Legend of Zelda.
Oh.
The OGs.
User score or
Who's
Mario?
got the higher user
Mario.
score?
Mario.
I'll say Zelda.
Zelda by 0.1. Zelda is 8.5 and Mario
0.1.
is 8.4.
I wonder
And that's the NES Classics re-release.
what
of The
would be
Legend of Zelda.
interesting information in addition to this is how many user reviews there
Yeah.
are.
Yes.
Sure.
That would be, yeah.
Just FYI, Cody. For the future, Super Mario World versus A Link to the Past, the Wii version of Link to the
Oh.
Past specifically.
Shoot.
Yeah, this
I'll
one
say
is
Link
hard.
to the Past still.
I could see it being
I
either
think
one.
it's a Link to the Past.
I'm gonna go Mario.
Dead even, 8.8.
Wow.
So which has the higher?
Didn't supply the critic score. I might have copied this incorrectly, but I think some of these later ones have critics, but that one does not. So not sure on that one. Gonna have to call it a tie. Super Mario 64 versus Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time.
Tied at 9.1. The critic of Ocarina of Time 99 beats that out.
I think
versus
that's
the 94
the
64.
highest game of all time.
They
Yeah.
are tied.
Or was for many, many,
Or
many,
was,
many
yeah.
years. Yeah.
Super Mario Sunshine versus Wind Waker.
Ooh, that's
Oh,
tough.
wow.
Wind Waker, I think, has the higher
Is
user
it the
score.
original Wind Waker? The GameCube
Yeah,
version?
this is important. This is
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
very
Does not
important.
specify. Yeah, I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'll say Wind Waker.
I will
then.
say Wind Waker. Yeah.
I'll go with it.
Wind Waker 9 to 8.5. New Super Mario Brothers versus Phantom Hourglass.
New Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I'll
For
say
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
8.5 to 8.0.
Yeah, the first New Super Mario Brothers was
Yep.
refreshing and well
Yep.
received. And yeah, it wasn't until some sequels that people started getting more divided.
Yeah, the original New Super Mario Brothers was.
Pretty sick
I mean, it was
at the time.
Yeah.
very popular. Yeah.
Super Mario Galaxy versus Twilight Princess.
Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Galaxy by 0.1. 9.1
Oh,
to
wow.
9.0. Yeah. Super Mario 3D Land versus A Link Between Worlds.
Oh, I think A Link Between Worlds.
I think a Link.
I
Man.
think a Link Between Worlds.
It could be either, but I'll go Link Between Worlds.
Correct. 9 to an 8.4 for 3D Land.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
New Super Mario Brothers 2 versus Triforce Heroes.
Oh God, that's really funny. I'll say
I'm gonna-
Mario.
These
I'm
though.
gonna
scores
say-
are dropping for
I'll
both
say
these
That
Mario.
games.
Mario game
Yeah.
is the one
I'm
with
gonna
all the
s-
gold weirdness, right?
Yes. But Triforce Heroes.
New Super Mario Brothers 2 is like Yeah, playing it felt soulless. No.
But I think it's gonna be.
I think it's gonna be Triforce Heroes.
You think Triforce Heroes is higher?
No, I think Triforce. Sorry, I did that weird. I think Triforce Heroes is lower.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. It is 0.2 higher. 7.4 to 7.2.
Zelda's higher?
Zelda is higher.
Wow.
That really surprises
That's
me.
copium, dude.
Fashion mavens over here.
Finally, Super Mario Odyssey versus Breath of the Wild.
This is a really cool
Breath of
game,
the
by the
Wild.
way.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey.
How much more?
Oh.
8.9 to 8.7.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
Crazy not to
Crazy,
see either
crazy,
one of
crazy,
those in
crazy.
the
Man.
nines for users.
Right.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It felt like Breath of the Wild just made such more of an impact and conversation wise.
It's funny because like every once in a great while you get this, but there is definitely some like Breath of the Wild haters out there.
Oh, well, that's the thing is
Oh,
I
sure.
can't remember
Yeah.
a lot of discourse against Odyssey.
I
like
don't- yeah.
like
Right.
meme worthy, where it's like, oh, that big
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
you know?
Sure.
Like San Andreas
Yeah.
donut
Like,
worthy,
I got
nothing
problems
like that.
Breath of the Wild, but
Where like, yeah, weapon
just thought-
durability, the art style,
Yeah.
the story,
Yes.
like
Yeah,
dungeons,
Well,
There are
because
a lot of big category.
because it's such
complaints.
a transformative game. I mean,
Right.
it's such an ambitious game that of course you're going to get that pushback, but it's incredible.
Cody also wants to know: would you rather live in the Mushroom Kingdom or Hyrule? I guess
Mushroom Kingdom.
You can pick your
Places
era.
to live. Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like either
Hyrule.
way I'd be in danger. Hyrule, I guess.
Hyrule, like, there's so many different interpretations of Hyrule, but I think
Yeah.
about Breath of the Wild and the times where like I just roll up on like a stable and how cozy it is.
Yeah.
I could live there forever.
Hyrule's an actual place. The
Yeah,
Mushroom Kingdom's
Mushroom
like
Kingdom is a fake place.
yeah, it's like a insane asylum.
And
Come
it's
on,
like
not-
just all toads.
Yeah. Well, you think also like Wind Waker.
Yeah.
I could live there. Come on.
It is time for love and respect.
Love
and respect.
Take them to the love and respect. From RF Switch, greetings, allies. Is it possible to feel overwhelmed by new content for a game? I've been playing Animal Crossing ever since the update and DLC launched, and even getting through my main account feels like it takes forever between all the different daily things I have to do now. Feels like an overload of new content, and that's before I figure out anything I want to change on my island or houses. It's exhausting. Have you ever had this problem with the game? Are there other games that have dumped a ton of content on you all at once?
I love this question so much because I go through it all the time. Like, I think part of the reason it took me so long to really re-dig into Final Fantasy XIV is I was like, oh man, like I have so much to get through. I feel overwhelmed, right? And it's not that I didn't want to; the desire was there, but you definitely feel that resistance in terms of volume. Genshin Impact is absolutely that. Like, I really enjoy Genshin Impact. I've had a great time when I play it, but now like I've been away from it long enough where like I'm kind of nervous to jump back in because I feel like I'm going to be overwhelmed. And you know, like those are hurdles that you can overcome, certainly. But yeah, I feel it.
I like the feeling of going back to a multiplayer game you played a lot of, but not in a while, and you're not expecting that HUD change. And you're not expecting the menu shift.
Dead by
That was-
Daylight just had that.
That was Avengers, baby. The last time I played
Yeah.
Avengers when Black Panther came out, I was like, okay, here. Oh no, just like staring at this screen for 15 minutes. Just what? Okay, it's all there. They haven't added anything. They just moved it all around. So yeah, definitely been there. Anything because it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like
Oh, I don't know.
Ay, ay,
For
ay.
games I love, like not really. Otherwise, I wouldn't even really play them. I guess it felt weird when I hopped into Team Fortress 2 after like years and years. Wait, sorry. Perfect example. Final Fantasy 11
Yeah,
this year.
baby.
When I came back to it, I was like, "Oh my god, what's
Yeah.
happening? What's the level cap now?" I'm like, "Oh,
do I have my link shell equipped?
how do I get to this zone?"
Anytime anybody wants to play more FF11, I'm down. Just throwing that out there.
From Sean Graham, hello, allies. I was thinking about the conversation on your recent podcast about things that break immersion, and I couldn't help but think about the egregious product placement in Final Fantasy 15. Sean, shout out.
Sure.
This got me thinking. Are there any good examples of product placement you can think of? Is there a better way to adopt this kind of brand integration? Was there a time you saw a brand? Sports seems like an easy giveaway. I'm
It's-
surprised Forza doesn't do it more.
It's
Other than like the car brands, obviously, but like billboards and stuff. I'm surprised it's just not Coke and.
It's funny that it brings up Final Fantasy 15 because I totally see that point. But I also think Cup Noodle being in the game the way that it is was like genuinely like humorous to me, and so I kind of enjoyed it. But I don't know. Ads suck.
The Metal Gear Calorie Mate stuff is always funny.
Yeah. And because
What
I
a
don't
sponsor.
like Calorie Mate isn't really a thing over here.
Right.
It wasn't. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good pick.
Like,
actually.
I like the Monster Energy drinks in the Death Stranding
Stranding.
as well.
dude, I love like Boss Coffee and Yakuza.
Yeah.
I'm always like, yes,
Yeah.
let's go.
Oh man.
But see, that's the thing. That's where it works. Like, when they got rid of that stuff, when they brought Shenmue over to the West, it was like, wait, what? We went from this like perfect replication of a Coca-Cola can to just like some generic soda. Like, yeah, it really, I think that's any time that you're in the real world and it would just make sense, then yeah, it makes sense. It's when you get into a fantasy or something like that. And it's
Oh my
like,
God.
Yeah.
You have Reeboks here? What's happening?
The Nintendo Switch shirt in Breath of the Wild was
Yeah,
super
we
funny
brought that
to
up
me.
last week.
I hate that.
Right. And that's
I was
the
in
funny thing
bathroom, I don't
about
know what you're talking about. But this is
music in
weird.
GTA is that like I've always had ever since I noticed it, I was like, whoa, why have I never noticed this before? But like there's a weird cognitive dissonance with music in Grand Theft Auto games because like they're singing about Compton. What's Compton? Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. You know what I mean? So like it's weird that like there's people in this world that like all of the musicians I'm hearing just don't exist in this world. Like the radio never talks about them and they don't by name.
That was like in the Eternals when a character refers to Superman.
well.
And like Jason and I like looked at each other in the theater and we were like, what? 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 Who? What? What's happening?
I'm not really gonna go to bat for this, but it does make absolute sense that like Call of Duty brands with Doritos. Like you're just like, I get it. Like this, you belong together.
To listen in on those calls.
Yeah.
You know, when like they're just starting a new one. Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's gonna be another good year for us. Yeah, yeah.
Have there been Doritos in Call of Duty? In the game,
I don't
actually?
think in the game. No, that's true.
Dude, that's
but
a
it
missed
is,
opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, no Mountain Dew? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
like, oh man,
Just like the chip crunch or the dew crack. You
Like-
know, like as a sound effect in
An
the menu.
emote or something,
You're just,
right?
you're just doing a mission briefing in the campaign, and like somebody rolls up and they're just munching.
Yeah.
Oh,
A gun that sounds like chips being chewed.
Yeah.
Or we get you just get a whole new progression, a whole new form of monetization there, whatever. Like, the currencies. You just have chips.
speaking of
Buy something with chips. How many chips you
Different
got?
flavored chips for different types of things.
speaking of Call of Duty, it threw me for a loop when I think it was Black Ops 2, you finished the campaign and Avenged Sevenfold, like
my
in the
gosh.
game,
Yes.
as
Oh,
model just starts performing, and you're like,
That was
what?
unhinged.
What is going on?
I was
Yeah,
cutting
man.
the review and I saw that footage and I was just like, what? What is this? What? It was so weird.
The other one, it's like it makes sense, but it's also dumb. Is the Splinter Cell games that would always have like a Palm or some other PDA.
Oh, yeah.
The brand would change in each game, but it was always funny to like go to your menu and there's like Palm logo on the top.
I think Burnout Paradise had ads for Barack Obama, like billboards. If I'm remembering correctly, I could be
That
getting
tip-
into
I don't remember seeing that, but
That turned the tide.
I do think that it was either Burnout or like a Need for Speed or something like that like was actually using like real ads that would replace every time you connected.
Burnout Paradise, yeah, Obama ads.
Whoa.
Apparently.
Whoa, dude.
There you go. That was a dig.
Do you remember Final Fantasy Kingsglaive had the Audi in it? There's like an Audi
Yeah,
car.
dude.
I don't remember that.
fantasy
So,
based
I
on
know.
reality,
It's
though.
so it's
Now that you mention it, yeah.
a fantasy
I remember us in the theater and that Audi showed up.
They
and
covered their
we
gra-
were
they
all
covered
fantasy
laughing.
reality that breaks
They
my
covered
brain.
their bases, Jones.
Doesn't he like drive it down the side of a giant like living
Best one.
statue
Probably.
or something? That movie's weird.
Best one, Pikmin 2.
Duracell.
All the Duracells, all these little
Oh,
things that they pick
I
up
remember
that are
that,
like
yeah.
things from the real world.
and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Fantasy
And
based
them trying
reality.
to understand what they are is so
Yeah.
fun.
Coleman Lanterns, fantasy-based reality.
It's reality.
Cup of noodles.
Where's Final Fantasy 16 at? Hurry up.
It's gonna be good.
From singer BK, hey allies, Jeff Keighley has been so impressed with your casting choices for starring role that he'd like to help with the Game Awards.
Oh, great.
Jeff's been offered a last-minute cameo in Indiana Jones 5, and he's decided to focus on his burgeoning acting career instead of hosting the show. Your task is to pick a new host and new presenter or presenters for Game of the Year. And like starring role, You must pick a video game character or characters to take his place. So we have two. Whoever's presenting Game of the Year and whoever's doing the Keeley. Hey, what's up? You know, the
who's
intro,
being
the pre-show
Keeley?
and all that stuff. Keeley's out.
Okay.
So somebody's got to give out Game of the Year. Could be the same person. If
But
we think.
wait. Jeff Keighley
is in
video games, so we could do the Jeff Keighley from Death Stranding.
Yes.
To be
The Jeff Keighley from Death Stranding is a great answer.
That is great. That is really good. And I don't know why this came to mind, but whatever. Duke Nukem.
Sure, as like the host. Or I would want
Pair him with Ferris.
I would want like Pyramid Head. I would want like a horror villain that doesn't speak. You know, it's like the music, dun, 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 the music kicks in, and he's just standing there, and then and then exclusive trailer, and then it cuts back.
Or he's reading the Game of the Year, but he has to open the envelope with his giant butcher knife sword.
My mind immediately went to Trevor because we were talking about him earlier, and I think that would be funny.
To present the Game of the Year, I want Balin from Balin Wonderworld to do it.
Nice. That'd be a whole musical number.
Yeah.
You know, you'd come in and confetti everywhere. All right, lock it in.
Game of the Year.
Call me, Jeff.
One of these years, I want Kojima to take over for Jeff Keighley. I want that so bad. I want Kojima to host the
Mission
Game
Impossible.
Awards.
Just
They go on stage and do a fusion and just become one person.
Either announce you're getting married or have
Yeah.
Kojima host.
Yeah, or both. What if Game Awards, like the surprise reveal is just their wedding?
Yeah. and then they win like influential gamers of the year.
right. That'd be beautiful. Time for bets. Next week's bet. Battlefield 2042 launches tonight, meaning tonight for this podcast. When we
Launches
record this.
meaning
launches for everyone.
You
a lot
can
of people
buy
have-
it at a normal price.
Right. Yeah, other people have been checking it out. It is being streamed on Twitch as we speak, specifically for our research. 18,700 people were watching it before we recorded the podcast. I want to know how many people will be watching that when we record the next podcast, which, due to scheduling woes, could be any number of days next week. We'll see. Brett Ellis,
10K.
10K. Ben Moore.
15K.
Isla Hink.
I don't know, 26K?
K. Bloodworth.
Win it.
Win it.
11-1-11.
Nice. 14.9. Just right under 15.
Always
we'll
does
see.
that.
Just in case. Just sneaking in there. This week's bet. Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 launched on Tuesday, November 16th. I looked before this podcast at the last 10 reviews on OpenCritic, and I wanted to know how many times would I see the word clue. Michael Damiani bet 10. Ben Moore bet 4. Isla Hink bet 3. Daniel Bloodworth bet 9, just right under Damiani, and I bet 21. Well, here we go. Went to PSU. They had 8 right out of the gate, baby. Feeling good.
wow.
Okay.
Feeling good. Thank you, PSU. PlayStation Lifestyle had 0. Game Grin had 1. So now Bloodworth is the winner. Explosion Network, fun name, 0. Well Played had 2. So now it's between me and Damiani. We're at 11. Finger Guns had 1. Game Creator had 10. I win. Yay! Thank you, Game Creator.
Did that include clues?
Clue or
Okay.
clues, yeah. I think most of the time it was clues, yeah, when it did pop up. But
You didn't tell us that?
that it's if you
It changes everything.
cluing or clued, those would not be
The game was
included.
rigged from the start.
Cluedo?
Holding information.
Clued in.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have accepted it. That would be, yeah. Bringing our scores too. Jovial Penguins 28.
when I'm dead, just throw me in the trash.
Vociferous Beavers 22.
Nom 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 nom.
It's not Oral Words yet, baby. I'll tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. Every Monday morning at 10 a.m. most weeks, I do a show called Cup of Jones. I talked on Huber Syndrome this week about the GTA Trilogy remaster. We just talked about it again. If you want the true raw sob story, if you want the original gut reaction of me going through before Syndrome, before this podcast, of me being sad about this company that I love, this series that I love, doing all sorts of horrible, literally grotesque things this week, check out Cup of Jones. For just $1, you can check out that. And all of our exclusive shows. We got spoiler modes. We just did one for Life is Strange True
Yeah.
Colors. Shout out to Lise Willems who joined us for that. So all of our exclusive stuff, all of our exclusive shows and spoiler modes and stuff, you can check out on patreon.com/easyallies.
Trash babies.
Trash Babies is one of them
Trash
exclusives.
babies.
I
At
love how
Patreon.
excited about Trash Babies you are.
Trash Babies. We also have a shout out tier. It is our very top tier. We give lots of shout outs on this podcast. This is the official Easy Allies podcast. Shout out to these 4 wonderful patrons. Shout out to El Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, and Nick. Shout out.
Shout out.
I won. I'd like to promote any Easy Allies video I'd like to promote. I'd like to get the final word on anything I've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped in my head. And I'd like to get the final trademark sign-off. That'd be nice. Ben Moore does not write short reviews. Ben Moore does not write short paragraphs. Okay? Ben Moore's paragraphs are
It
dense.
wasn't that long.
It really wasn't.
It really wasn't.
We're not supposed to talk right now, though.
Ben reviewed Shin Megami Tensei 5. This is a big, dense review that really just... I have very little purchase on this franchise, and when I get a Ben review that's really focused on something that he's excited about, it is really interesting to get to really dive into the deep end. That is an excellent review. I suggest you go back and check out Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Thanks,
That was a pleasure to read, and it was just one of those things of like, man,
We can talk during the recommendations, just not the
I
final
wasn't sure
thought.
what part we were in, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the video recommendation.
I thought we were in a final word somehow.
We can talk in that part. We can't talk in this part.
Jones, that was very nice.
Oh,
of you
you're
to say.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bobby Kotick is a scumbag. Cheers.
I would think you were trying to sell me an NFT. That's what I would think.
Yeah, they sent Easy Allies. Each of us got an actual car.
Yeah, I suck at Halo 2. I'm just gonna wait for the campaign.